Hey everyone, it's the holiday season. Okay, I'm not gonna torture people with that. Um, we don't have an official start yet, but we're just hanging out, saying hi. Um, yeah, how's it going, fellows, ladies,
Fellas,
and
loving
gentlemen?
it. Doing great. Doing great. What a banger year, 2023.
Yeah,
Top stuff. Loved it. Loved every minute except for the ones that I didn't, which were few and far between. So,
yes, I too thoroughly enjoy all the minutes they did not enjoy.
exactly.
That's the way. That's the way
Exactly.
it's
There was a
supposed
lot
to be.
more good than bad minutes, let me put it that way.
Yeah, and I'm sure as a result, I'm sure it's going to be very interesting because there's a very big divergence, I think, in what people have had for this year, right? As far as what people have thought of, all that kind of stuff. Because like for me, this has been largely a great year. Like it's been like a, oh, let's go. Oh, that cool thing's happening. Oh, that cool thing. Oh, all of my enemies are getting punished. Whatever. It's been a fun year in all these kinds of ways. And then I do know some people that are like, man, this is rough stuff and sad. I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry. Some of these are from like alt communities that price action's brutal, which let's be honest, for most cryptos that aren't like horrible, the price action's been like, eh. Or a lot of communities in particular, and some people have been like who are about that have been very depressed from it. But also, I know some Bitcoiners, BTCers, who have been doing very well by a lot of metrics, are bummed out because they're in it for the freedom, and now this is not the year to be a Bitcoiner if you're in it for the freedom. So at least that's intellectual honesty. It takes a certain special kind of a person to get sad when you're getting rich, because you care about why the purpose behind it, and the purpose is taking a nosedive while you're getting rich, and be like, like the whole Woody Harrelson thing, crying with the money.
I don't know. It feels like I was writing my newsletter for 2023 and I had to start with this sort of opening and I felt gloomy writing it. I know
Mm-hmm.
that, everybody feels super bullish right now. It's like, oh my God, bull market, like, yay. And at the same time, I think you were just mentioning people's price action. But for me, I realized like a good third of my newsletter is dedicated to Tornado Cash and everything I've been doing around Alexei Pertsev. So I guess like the tone of it is like, yay, great events. Also, also it sucks because developers are being jailed or are being persecuted right now for writing open source code or being accused of every hack under the sun. And so I'm torn, and then I don't understand the price action as well because I'm not a trader, and I'm thinking, is this price action really coming from an ETF announcement? Is this really what I dedicated the last 6 years of my life to? Is this what I'm supposed to be excited about? Don't get me wrong, I'm happy for people making money, but like this feels off. This I
Yeah,
feel like there's a I don't know. I'm a little bit I guess it was something I felt a bit uncomfortable.
yeah,
Um
I absolutely understand. It's and like I'm just like "Ugh," like I'm excited. I'm just trying to be a positive person, but then one of my I guess newer friends, Mark Hopkins, who's been a super OG Bitcoiner, and then now he's into ETH and some DAOs and stuff like that a lot. Yeah, I met him on Twitter while tweeting at him while he's about to go to prison, and then I interviewed him after he got out about like that whole thing. And then another friend, of course, Ian Freeman, did go to prison for crypto just a few months ago, and then which by is in we talked about having Roger Ver on the Bitcoin Cash podcast not too long ago, and the guy who taught Roger Ver about Bitcoin to begin with is just went to prison. So that's a little bit sad, and I'll be I guess vague for intentional purposes, but some crypto company that I very much like and appreciate got out of the crypto business because of some direct threats to their safety by government. And so there's all this nasty stuff underneath the surface that
Yeah.
I'm well aware of. It's not like,
Yeah.
you know.
And I know we're supposed to be like the happy people because we're like the public ones, you know, we're the ones who are very lucky to have audiences and who share this, or educators, or for the most cringiest word, evangelists of cryptocurrencies, and you know, we've onboarded friends and family and
Yeah.
etc. But yeah, uncomfortable, I think, is still how I feel right now. And
Yeah.
you?
So
In a way.
one time said my sound was a little too low compared to everyone. Still more? Should I put more? I put the microphone closer. Just let me know if it's good.
Your volume's fine for me.
Yeah, it's a different volume source. What you guys hear in this hangout is what everyone hears except for me, and this is a different source. So yeah, I think I'll turn it up a little bit. Anyway, go ahead, Jeremy. Whatever you're
Well,
going on.
in a way, I think, you know, if people are still ending up in jail and things are still going to, you know, it's almost in one sense, like ironically, kind of a good indicator that the revolution is still alive, right? We are still actually shaking things up. We are still a threat, and anybody who is involved is taking to a lesser or greater degree some kind of that risk, and so yeah, it's never good to see, but in a certain way it does make me think that this, you know, the hardcore spirit is still sort of there, and we're still pissing off the right people, kind of thing. If that had all stopped, I'd be like, oh no, maybe it's over. Like,
I love your optimistic take on a dire situation. You're like, this is great. This shows that the fight, we're still we're
still in it.
We're still fighting. The
Yeah.
other side of me is like, well, it also discourages people or newcomers as well, because they see in the press, you know, these court cases or whatnot, and then as a hackathon organizer, you know, a privacy hackathon organizer, people are like, so Ellie, the code that I'm going to write in the Netherlands, I'm going to get a suit for it, and I'm like,
probably not. But
but you see, isn't that like the worst answer you could give? Probably not. Like, I don't know.
But you got to, that's what I'm saying, you got to lean into it. Like, you got to just be like, this is some real revolutionary type shit. We only want soldiers who are going down with the ship. Let's go.
So this is the hot. We're only like 11 minutes in, and this is the hot take of the entire podcast. This was Jeremy being like, "Listen, when people stop rotting in prison for this shit, I'm out."
Yeah, you don't want to be selling people. Exactly, you don't want to be selling people like a false dream. You know, I have from the early days, like, people were always like, ooh, cryptocurrency, it sounds really sketchy and it was used on black markets and blah blah. No, love that. Need more of that, not less of that. Everyone trying to like tone it down, you've missed it. No, you just got to go out guns blazing. Like, that's it. I love that about crypto.
Look, if the founders of America can throw a bunch of boxes of tea over some freaking ship into the Atlantic Ocean, I can do some cryptocurrency things, right? Like, come on.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So, and fun fact, the entire reason America was founded is because a bunch of people from England couldn't stand being around the Dutch anymore.
Dutch people are actually great, though.
Yeah, I love them.
They're one of the countries that I get along with the most.
I don't know. I'm surrounded by them over here, so I could do with a few more people that aren't Dutch.
I'm a
happy Dutch people, but just you know, can I have a little?
I can say I'm a happy expat here in the Netherlands, but the whole Tornado Cash Alexei Pertsev situation did make me reconsider this as a not so land of the free at all, or as a interesting what you guys are doing with your laws and your AML regulatory framework. So yeah, but
the Netherlands is pretty safe. Like, because I think about when I was there. It's one of those things, sort of almost like Germany is a similar, where things are really like peaceful and calm, and like the average person, like, it's not up to anything sketchy. But they also have very like intimidating like police, like, that are working around, like, looking real fucking serious, and like,
they're really sweet. The policemen or women that you meet on the street are very polite, very professional. At least every encounter I've had so far, personally, and some of them are riding horses. I don't know. It's just like a very.
You know what's funny? In the local town that I live at, the mounted police got defunded because
Aw.
they were just there for community relations. They'd walk around on this, and the people were just like, "No, we're not spending frivolous money anymore. Get out of here, pigs!" They just took away their horses. So
Aw. Oh, well.
yeah,
No more horsies.
yeah, no more, cleanup problems in the streets either, because that was annoying.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
Really? The horse manure?
Let me hit the intro. There's no real reason to do an intro, but for the sake of time stamping this podcast, I'm going to hit the intro and then we'll get into
Jingle bell, right?
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. So, hey everyone, officially now, happy Friday. Welcome to the Digital Cash Rundown, episode 142. Seeing as this is a weekly show, 142 weeks of this, it's it's kind of like when new parents start like aging their child in like weeks or months. It's like this one's like 570 months old. Like, oh, okay. This is, I kind of blocked out like a 4-hour time period for the show. I might end sooner if people just like get tired and leave sooner, but it's open season. We still have a few other guests who may or may not show. They said they'd come, but we'll see at some point in this time. As always, remember if you have one of my NFTs, Eleanor's favorites, you can jump into the live chat, the super chat, and do stuff. Otherwise, you could do the fiat currency that gets converted back end into whatever on YouTube, or just please comment a lot on the actual thing on X on Twitter, because that's where this show is done the best. Elon's very pro growth, I guess, and so take that, translate that as you will. But yeah, so let me just really quick, because we did actually get a couple super chats throw up on the screen here. One time said, "Good morning, everyone," and then Hilawi commented. Both great people, by the way. It says, "Is there a rundown of what node operators and crypto devs in the U.S. would have to do or face as part of the proposed legislation?" I think what he's talking about is the FinCEN stuff, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Is that like the unhosted wallet and thing? I think. I don't know.
I was going to say, I haven't actually read the regulations at all. So, I mean, first, it'd be cool if there was like a link to it somewhere so I could read up, because, we're distributing the wallets through a U.S. company. So that might directly impact me. I should probably do a little DD on that.
Yeah. As far as I know, well, there's a couple different things. There's some like FinCEN things there's some new FinCEN guidelines which have something to do with privacy and mixers and stuff, and they basically criminalize those, and those are proposed. Again, they're not implemented yet that I know of, but that's like a regulatory body coming up with rules. Now there's a piece of legislation from everyone's favorite Elizabeth Warren to basically ban self-custody in some certain way, and I haven't had the time to really dig deep into that. But I guess if like the mixer stuff is banned, then anyone adding like Cash Fusion or something to Selene or something, there might have to be like a US version of Selene and like a rest of the world version or something. I don't know, from that thing, if that happens. And then as far as like the ban self-host, at that point we're just like, you know what, like we're just gonna be off the app stores for a while, or whatever. We're just gonna ride this wave of craziness out.
I just posted the actual Congress.gov source of the actual bill. I commented it on the stream tweet.
Nice.
I was gonna say, can someone just catch me up and give me the TLDR on this wonderful American news?
So there's two things. First off, FinCEN, which I'm not gonna go into what the acronym means, but FinCEN is considering doing some basically to adjusting their rules, which would include some kind of a basically criminalization of advanced privacy techniques for sending and receiving cryptocurrency. And since it's a regulatory body, it's like the agency is just deciding we might change our rules to do this. And so people are freaking out about it. Of course, they have to actually implement that, and then there, of course, might be court cases and things like that come as a result. Or maybe they take too long implementing all this stuff to where the administration changes and the new presidential administration decides to be very different on all this. And
this summary on the Congress.gov link is like pretty succinct and explains what it is. Can I read it real quick?
Yeah, so you can start. This is the second thing. So yeah, go ahead, start reading. I'm going to throw it up on the screen.
Yeah, this is just a couple steps. This will be quick. All right, Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2022, introduced December 15th. This bill. Oh, this is actually 2022.
Yeah, it's actually.
Oh, we're not in
It's
2023 yet. Just kidding.
Right.
What year is it? Hello. Anyway, this bill directs specified federal financial agencies to establish rules regarding digital assets. This Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, must establish a rule classifying digital asset wallet providers, cryptocurrency miners, validators, and any others as money services businesses. In addition, FinCEN must require U.S. persons to report cryptocurrency transactions through foreign accounts of over $10,000. FinCEN must also require digital asset kiosk owners and administrators to submit and update every 3 months the physical addresses of the kiosks. The Department of Treasury must prohibit financial institutions from handling, using, or transacting businesses with digital asset mixers, privacy coins, and other anonymity-enhancing technologies, and digital assets that have been anonymized by these technologies. Treasury, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission must establish risk examination and review processes for anti-money laundering requirements for the respective regulated entities.
Yeah. So that sounds bad because it's basically a ban on not only like privacy stuff, but also to talk about unhosted. It's like, I don't know if that stuff has reached internationally, but it's like a lingo that means basically self-custody. And so basically you'd have to like register if you do crypto stuff, right? So basically, and it says must establish a rule classifying digital asset wallet providers, miners, etc., as money services businesses. So in order to be a money services business, you have to KYC everyone. So this bill would mean any wallet you download or whatever, whoever provides that has to KYC all its customers, which is like insane. And I have to say, maybe I'm too optimistic on this, but I don't think it's going to go through.
Have you invited Paul maybe from Edge to discuss this?
No, but if
he'd be the first in line, right? I'm guessing, like,
yeah, he'd be
I mean, because right now he's not a financial service. I think it's just listed as software or like,
Yeah, so at this point, I do think that
because all the third parties that they integrate in the wallet to be able to buy and sell, they do the KYC up to a certain amount or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then the burden of KYC is not on Edge, but on their third parties.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because other than this, things have been moving in a positive direction for the most part. Because with crypto exchanges, they've cracked down on exchanges because they're custodial. And you have to do more and more KYC, and they start asking you where the money came from that you're using to buy all this nonsense, right? Now, for example, Thor Wallet, my favorite Thorchain and Maya protocol, like front end type thing, has a integration through, I think, Paybus and Mount Pelerin. So depending on where, if you're in the US or if you're in Europe, you can buy quite a bit of crypto without KYC at all. I think even in the US, which US is the worst in the world for no KYC fiat to crypto, I think you can buy up to like 2,000 a year, 2,000 US a year without giving your ID over. And there's a service that's called Topper by Uphold, the Uphold exchange thing. That Uphold requires KYC, but I'm told that Topper doesn't, which is just you put in your credit card, you buy like a small amount, and because it's completely non-custodial, it's just like an ATM type thing. And so that the realities have been getting a little bit better, but then they have this big crackdown kind of thing that would make things kind of worse. So I think that we're going to live in a crypto paradise eventually, but like for right now, we have to fight off these big, crazy things that are coming out. Like, and as a lot of, I think, hubris-filled Bitcoiners, BTCers, have been pointing out that Elizabeth Warren has basically never gotten a bill passed, and she has like a terrible track record for legislation working out, which is, it's a good form of comfort, but this one seems like it has a lot more legs behind it, and it's like it could happen. I don't think, I don't think it will. If I were to bet, if you're like, okay, 50 grand, bet, which way is it going to go? I would bet it does not become law. But it's not like, oh yeah, it's easy, bet the whole house. It's like, probably not. But uncertain times, huh?
Indeed. This is really not my wheelhouse. I mean, obviously, yeah, we will hopefully it just fails, and then we never have to worry about it. I try not to spend too much time like looking into or reading a lot of this stuff, because it's just like it's a DDoS attack on the crypto community, is that we spend our time wasting away with this. Obviously, some people who are in the know and are involved, I think Coinbase made an announcement that they just funded a whole ton of lobbying and stuff like that. So the people who are involved in it, good for them. I fully support that. But my personal approach is generally just not to waste too much time on this until or if it becomes a big problem, because at least 80% of the time it's just complete FUD. So I feel like we're better served. We just got to keep getting ahead. You just got to keep moving the ball forward. We got to be playing offense. We can't be playing defense with this stuff, at least
Absolutely.
not with, the entire focus of the ecosystem.
Yeah, if this passes as written, I have to move out of the country if I want to continue doing what I'm doing. That's actually a fact. I just read this. It's very broad.
Yeah, you would have to,
I
or
literally would have to.
you would have to move out of the country, or you'd have to move out of the country. And depending on whoever's risk profile, or
There's a whole lot of changes I would have to make to the current way that I'm doing things. That's for sure.
yeah, this affects like real things and real people. The thing is, where I get, I this is like, this is freedom money, as I keep on talking about it, right? This is freedom money, and I've been in this space. So I'm a 2012, 2013 crypto person. When did you get in, Eléonore? Do you remember?
2017, and
2017.
I'm a late bloomer.
No, that's you know what? Those are considered OGs. Like maxis are patting themselves on the back for like came in 2017. But anyway, 2017, and then Jeremy, when did you came in? Do you remember?
2013 September.
There we go. Yeah, 2013 September is when I actually acquired my first coins through a pizza purchase.
Yeah, that was for me. Same
Yeah,
September,
so-
or maybe October.
I was tweeting about it in 2012, but it was all talk. And then Kallisti, you remember your birthday?
Yeah, I got my first coins in 2011, but I wouldn't consider myself in until 2020.
Yeah. So for the OGs, the super OGs, right? We were always I mean, I'm speaking for myself at least, but like we always thought that we're going to get banned at any moment kind of thing. Like it's like, oh, we're running our own little node at home, or we're doing whatever. We're running the mining equipment like in the basement where like no one could tell like what the energy signature is. It was already early back then. It's like everyone back then used some really sketchy centralized exchange, probably run by 100% run by criminals and thieves. They just all were just doing all this like we knew that this was like underground shit. This was like back alley digital cash. And over time it just got so comfortable and things started to get more legit and everything. And now people are like, what happens if the powers that be do something? And it's like, well, the reality is for some people it's going to suck, and there'll be an adjustment. But the whole point of this technology is that they can't stop us. And so this is where I'm probably going to give like probably one of this more spicy takes that I'll give today. It might sound like a little bit of victim blaming, and people might get upset. But the library case, right? And I am very happy to be currently streaming on Odyssey, and my last video got a bunch of donations from LBC library credits, which are worth very little these days, and I can't do anything with them, but I'm very happy that I got them anyway. But library went down and away because it didn't take this cypherpunk ethos seriously enough. It kind of like, we're going to start a US-based company and centralize the entire blockchain around this company, basically. Pre-mine 50% of the eventual supply, which is was like 80% of like the original, like, and just have these tokens and sell those in order, and we'll just say, okay, it's a utility token, therefore it's fine that we did this. And like, there's nothing wrong with anything they did, and have to be super clear about that. There's nothing wrong, and they're good friends who did it and everything. But they definitely were not considering, they were not keeping first cypherpunk principles, which is like a safety, it's like a backup, you know, it's like having a backup generator or something. They definitely operated in naively, I would say, in a world where they thought that the government would just let them do what they wanted. Whereas the point of crypto, the entire censorship resistant stuff, is to act like you can be squashed at any moment if you are a target. And so I think that a lot of people have gotten comfortable and done like the library approach, where if it's decentralized, it should be able to withstand, I guess, bannings and things like that. And we should be building things that can work in the light and the dark. And if they only work in the light, they're not 100% worth building. They're like 80% worth building, maybe.
But to counter your point, which, you know, obviously library meh, but Tornado Cash still works today, so it's not down, right? Although everything that happened and OFAC and everything banning them, it was never a company. It's a DAO. It's not, you know, not registered anywhere. But they still came after the three public figures of it. So what do you know?
Let me double down on my spice a little bit. And, like, again, I feel bad about talking about what my like real opinions because it sounds like I'm like victim blaming or something like that. On the Tornado Cash thing, it was a VC funded, like, it was VC funded. It was like
that's not a bad thing.
Yes, hold on. It's not a bad thing. There's none of this. Listen, none of this is immoral or bad. I think that it's risky in a regulatory environment like we are today, where they VC funded. The smart contract, the people who created that were doxxed, right? Like public people. They also ran the major front end by which all this was done, which then they ended up adding some filtering or whatever. So they ran it like a company almost in every single way possible, except that it ran on top of an immutable smart contract. And so to the government, not only did the government see them as a company, but the government could target them and arrest them as people in a company. And again, in no way victim blaming, because they're brave people who created like a great good for the world. And it just, the way to do it is be anon and not run the front end and not get VC funding. And I'm not saying that it's sad that that's the way, but that's the way.
I feel like that would still not be enough.
It maybe not. It would be better. Who knows?
That's still a bit, because I was just looking at my little very useful timeline that I've made of stuff, but like Roman Storm was arrested in the US on the end of August. And the week before, Coinbase lost their lawsuit, arguing that, you know, the U.S. Treasury had overstepped in their sanctions against Tornado Cash. And that's the lawsuit that basically says that, oh, you think you're a DAO? Well, we are still going to recognize you as an entity. So, you know, don't hide behind a DAO. It counts as such. So I feel like, okay, so if you're, because at first I think you're saying, okay, Library was a company, a US-based company, like, okay, fail. And now we're looking at a DAO, and the non-CEO, the non-executive, the non-board is in jail or being prosecuted right now. Right? Alexei in the Netherlands, Roman Storm in the US, and Roman Semenov is charged and so is somewhere in the world, and I don't know. But It's so what? Now we have to go all anon and disappear. Like I feel like okay, maybe
Yes.
Jeremy, this goes back to your point of like, okay, let's all go dark. It's wartime, let's all put like
I didn't say that though. This is putting words in my mouth. I said as long as people are still, dying on the
Fighting.
front lines, the war is still ongoing. I didn't put out my preferred approach. That's
but we do want an environment where people can build stuff, right? Can feel like they can innovate. I mean, of course, for us
Yes.
users, Tornado Cash still works. I mean, like we can still interact with the smart contract and stuff like that. You can run it yourself, but this is not ideal, right? We agree on this, right? That this is not.
I absolutely agree that it's not ideal.
And then how long do you have to go dark and anon and
until the world's free, which
Oh, God.
freaking forever. This reminds me. So Thorchain's an interesting. Obviously, it's an innovator in crypto world and stuff like that.
Right.
There's some interesting stuff going on there. So first of all,
Yeah.
Thorchain did not. I think the founding team is not officially running it anymore. It's a different team. So the founders aren't involved, supposedly, kind of. I don't really understand exactly how they did that, but I know that not all of their dev team is doxxed. They made an explicit choice to not run a single front end. Now, the challenge with that is Thor Swap sounds like an official front end, even though
Do they have a Twitter? Do they have a Twitter account?
Yes.
That they consider like a like for them that's a way of communicating to the world. That's like
Yeah, so but the point is
a website.
they abstracted that away. Now, the Maya protocol, which is what they call the hot little sister of Thorchain is what they like to call it, is it's entirely an anon team, other than the one of the founders shows his face, but he's the only one who shows his face. I do know that they're real anon because I've done business with them, and they don't have bank accounts to do things like sponsorships and things. They literally don't legally have anything. They don't exist. And they also don't have, there is no, like, Thor Wallet was the first Maya front end. So there's some like abstraction of like this Swiss business is going to get in trouble, not the core protocol. There's some abstraction. But even beyond all that, Chad Bareford, who's one of the big, I guess the head developer of Thorchain-ish, kind of. He's like the big guy. He's working on a side project called Archeo to decentralize front ends as well, where he basically is thinking about a front end instead of like a business, like an app. He's thinking like a smart contract. That like, what if you could write a front end and then hit go and it just runs, and then you can't take down even the front ends, because right now you could go to ThorSwap and take them down, which happened briefly. You could go to Thor Wallet, you could go to Uniswap's site, you could go to all these places and just make people run their own nonsense. But what if what if Uniswap's front end like just was unconfiscatable? What if the front end just ran into perpetuity and like every time there's a new V something of Uniswap and people have to jump on that? What if that was the same for the actual interface by which people interacted with the smart contract? And so even though Chad is, I'm pretty sure, in the US, and I'm pretty sure like everyone knows who he is or where to find him, he's not in legal trouble for anything. He's still building for a world where that might not be the case. He's still thinking ahead of like, how do we make sure that we have no attack vector? How do we, and another thing they're working on is trying to get as many Thorchain nodes on bare metal as possible, so they're not running on like AWS or any kind of like censorable cloud servers and stuff. So it's an ongoing process, and we're, again, this is war, right? This is we're not trusting the government to allow us to do all the things we want to do. We're doing them not necessarily against the government, but definitely in spite of them, right? As far as we're doing what we're doing, and the government's there, and we'll figure out how to deal with them along the way. But that's just like, how do we scale on chain most effectively? How do we decentralize? It's like just another problem to solve. It's just the government over there. So, yeah.
I mean, nobody can stop you from running whatever JavaScript you want in your browser. So you could just run the front end locally. You just grab the code from somewhere. It could be hosted on IPFS or BitTorrent or anything, and you could just run it locally. Nobody can stop you from doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, we're going right to like the cypherpunk, like we're going right to the trenches. You got to like the paint or whatever. You know, I'm not gonna pan to show the AK in the corner of my room or anything. But the thing is, it is kind of crazy to think about all the other technologies and things that have happened. Like, for example, encryption that was banned. It was, you know, criminal. And then encryption just became a thing that, like, now everyone uses Signal. Everyone does HTTPS or whatever it is. It's fine after a freaking war over that. And then file sharing is, of course, what everyone remembers, where there were some high-profile Silk Road style things that went down. And then now file sharing just is. It's just there. The market is adjusted. There's the streaming services are cheap enough and like whatever enough that like now there's less, you know, there's less incentive to steal movies or whatever. But file sharing is just there, and everyone accepts that you can't do anything about it, kind of. And so, also, what I should talk about for the U.S. context is the concept of nullification, where the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution says that all rights that are not explicitly reserved for the federal government go to the states and the people. And so basically the 10th Amendment is used as a clause to just say if an individual state says something in contrary to the federal government, their law is supreme over federal law, because the United States is supposed to be a union of independent states, and it's kind of not turned out that way too much in practice these days. But the point is, the first big example of nullification was, of course, in the modern age, I should say, was marijuana, because marijuana is highly criminal in the entire U.S. Still is, right? But then the state of Colorado legalized it. They just said it's legal here. And then for a while, there was dispensaries, legal businesses in the state of Colorado that were getting raided by federal police, by, you know, from Washington, coming and raiding them. And then there was some, like, it was a little tense for a while because they didn't know what to do. These guys say it's legal. These guys say it's not. And then over time, the federal government just gave up. And then now in like almost half the U.S., I believe, recreational cannabis is legal. And no one gets arrested for it, basically. And there was a time period for a while when no bank would deal with any cannabis business because the federal government said it was legal, even though the local government would. And now there are cannabis dispensaries that do have access to some banking systems and things like that. And so all we need is a couple of states to enshrine the right to transact privately, et cetera, in crypto and digital assets, and then just have a standoff with the feds. Just say, look, this is legal here. You guys leave. And then there will be some people, sadly, who will get arrested by the feds even though they're doing perfectly legal stuff in their own state. And then there will be court cases, there will be outcry, there will be this and that. And then give it a few more years and eventually it'll be like, look, we ain't taking our crypto. Sorry.
Come and get it.
Yeah. Come and take it. Yeah. Of course, it's a lot easier to come and get it if you can't even move it. You know, costs like.
Well, I mean, not even necessarily. It's the seed phrase you got to secure, right? And if it's in my brain, if I memorize it, you can't take that away from me.
Yeah. But
That's
so
the old wrench attack, but yeah,
you could do that.
Yeah,
but also like, hasn't it been? Let's dump on Bitcoin a little bit. Just kidding. But this has been a wild year from that perspective of BTC, because I personally believe BTC has been in this weird zone where it's kind of had one foot in the like settlement asset world and one like pinky toe in the digital cash world for like many years. They've been trying to be like, well, no, but like, and everyone who's argued on Twitter with, you know, I see some veterans of the Twitter wars in this room right now, right, has seen that happen. And then I feel like now finally the digital cash Bitcoin is just like done. I think that people have stopped pretending it's going to work. I don't think people are going to feeling like fees are going to go down below like $1 ever again. And I feel like people are starting to give up on the Lightning Network. And I feel like people are starting to shill the Liquid Network.
A little bit.
But that's disrupted a few people, right? Because they had the nice, comfortable narrative, you know, the digital cash, it's still kind of like the white paper or some way we'll make it work. You know, you've got to keep the like plebs happy with kind of a few lines of bullshit. And now that's gone. And the thing about Liquid coming into it is suddenly who runs Liquid? It's Blockstream. Ta-da! And now, like,
oh no,
not all of
who
them
could have predicted this?
Exactly, but there's a little like slice of people in there that were like, wait, it's Blockstream again? What the fuck? Maybe there is something wrong here. And they've been told and told and told, and it was like, that's a conspiracy. But now the Liquid shills come out of nowhere, and suddenly they're like, this is ringing a bell. And so that's disrupted a few of the you know, drones, a few of the NPCs in the BTC camp, I think. If it had been, that was a tactical mistake. They shouldn't have made Liquid the new narrative. They needed something different. They needed, they've got plenty of other ones. They've got ARC, they got coin pools, they got drive
but here's
chains.
the thing, Jeremy, Liquid was the narrative the whole time.
That's exactly.
They had it in the wings.
Let me throw
Or
something.
it wasn't the narrative, but it was the plan.
It was the plan. It was the plan. Yeah, it was the plan.
Let me throw a picture on the screen real quick. It's just a still from my latest video. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna put it in under the actual Twitter thread. Someone took this still from the thing. It's basically, for those listening at home, it's me wearing a tinfoil hat. And,
I love it.
Yeah, and that's because during this thing, when I was this video, I was talking about what was happening with, you know, everything. I just said, like, tinfoil hat time. What if the company that hired all the Bitcoin developers, again, this is like old tinfoil hat, Roger Ver stuff of like, oh, what if Blockstream did hire a lot of Bitcoin core developers? The narrative did move towards, I saw a cat flying in the background. That was funny. The narrative did go towards layer 2 type stuff. Liquid was always kind of there, but like no one used it. Blockstream didn't even push it that hard. It was like, oh, Lightning's going to be the thing. And then maybe they knew all the time that Lightning would break under a high fee environment. And when that happened, it's just like, can I interest you in some Liquid? And we're back there. So maybe...
Hey, can I make an interesting observation when
yes,
you're done with this?
Absolutely.
All right, so here we go. Tinfoil hat time.
Ooh.
Block the stream. All right. We've got Liquid Network. We've got river and ocean mining. There's a theme here.
I like the water marketing. I'm biased.
Yeah, that's because you live on the water, kind of.
Oh, Cryptic Canal. I do boats. You know, I like the whole thing. I have an otter as a mascot. I'm
sea.
very well, okay.
They're not related, though.
Now we're all putting a tinfoil hat right now.
Oh, I live in the Great Lakes. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, lots of water. You know, I drink water a few times a day.
How do you, but like, I've mostly, as you guys know, like stepped out of the whole BCH community, sadly, after the second fork that completely burnt me out.
I mean, the Amari.
Yeah.
Alve de Monet, Amari
Yes.
Sachet.
That one hurt my soul, and I just, it was very abrupt as well how I did it, and I still feel bad at how I left Akane and Satoshi's Angels. Like I was like, I can't do this anymore. But catch me up, because I see you, Joel. I see you on Twitter, and I love it. Like you're always like going post and like put these Lightning people. You know, you're always like poking them, and you're always like showing them the light.
Well,
I'm just wondering what's the reaction in the BCH community right now to all of this, to BTC being once again like very obnoxious at not being.
So before I let the hardcore BCHers talk, I can just answer that for you. Furious masturbation.
Okay, you're not gonna. I'll speak for them.
They seem to be loving it. Okay. But anyway,
yeah, no, we are loving it, but I think it's actually, you know, the ball has moved past that. Like we've already won. Like nobody's that excited about it anymore. It's now been, you know, probably in the last 6 months, we've got increasing amounts of, oh, you know, the Bcaches were kind of right. Has anybody heard that like Lightning Network sucked? And like somebody had said that back in the day. I wonder why are we in this situation? You know, they've become self-aware on that side. And at first it was fun and obviously got a few dunks in. But the thing is, they've either blocked or muted so many of us that they've created their own echo chamber where they can all come to that realization together. We can't even get in there and be like, "Told you so," but we don't need to. That's the point. It's moved on.
So there's told you so, and then is there like new people coming into the BCH ecosystem community, getting involved or building because they think, oh well, okay, it's not too late to change your mind. I was wrong. I don't know. You know, more than just telling them I told you so.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. You know, maybe over 2024. These things, you know, takes a while for the water to flow downhill. But I think that's what we're going to see. And we were seeing, even just yesterday, we've been doing these spaces. Kallisti's been doing a great job running some spaces. And we've been talking to a few more of those guys, especially the ones that are in the CTV camp. They think like Lightning's fucked up. Like let's do CTV. That'll fix everything. And they've been on that train for like a couple of years. And they're starting to kind of clue in like, wait a second, we're not dealing with like good actors, we're never going to be able to get this upgrade in, etc. And so then they've started talking to us, and so we're having a chat to them, and then they're kind of, you know, we're not shoving it down their throat, but they're independently realizing like, wait a second, they were onto something. And they seem to now be at the stage of like, guys, we got to try CTV, and if CTV doesn't work, well, maybe the Bcache has had a point, and that's when they'll sort of capitulate. That seems to be the current state of affairs.
Now, how knowledgeable are you on CTV?
I know that it's got 3 letters.
Yeah, so it's like covenants and stuff. So from my understanding, it just adds some programmability to like how transactions, UTXO stuff can be used. But like the problem is, see, I'm not a very smart man, but I can detect bullshit pretty well. And so the whole like I remember I was there, Gandalf, right? I was there when the whole SegWit thing.
3,000 years ago.
Yeah. Like I remember.
Wait, I want to say I was there on the CoinSpice live stream with BSV in the beginning when you were saying that you're going on all these crazy podcasts. I was like, I went to that 11-hour podcast. We did it. We did it. We would watch those blogs and we'd be like, oh my God, look, we passed BSV on that one. And then I'd screenshot it and send it to Craig Wright and be like, in your face. Oh, the good old days.
those are the trenches. That was a popcorn time. But like as far as back in the early days, what was I just talking about? Sorry, I was thinking too much.
CTV. You were getting to the point of
SegWit.
Like, is that an op?
Teach me because I also don't know.
Well, so
CTV
let me just
stuff.
talk about SegWit, right? So SegWit, I think almost universally it's acknowledged that was pushed in bad faith, even amongst people that say, but it was necessary and I like Lightning, because it was pushed as a block size increase, which it's not.
But only a small one. And now it's been rewritten to be, it was a 4 megabyte increase. But at the time, it was like a 1.7 meg. And now they've rewritten that. Yeah.
Yes, but it was pitched as this is going to solve scaling. All we have to do is SegWit. It's going to make it better. And then it went in, and then they're like, there's celebration parties around the world. Yeah, SegWit's activated. And then just nothing. And then people, no, everyone needs to use more SegWit, and then they do, and now it's like everyone needs to use more Lightning, and then everyone needs to use Liquid, and there's this goalpost moving of this other, like I can tell when it's like a technical upgrade that is just does some weird like paperwork basically, and it's like this is gonna solve this very serious problem, and then here I go and start dumping on ETH, right? Because everyone has to. I remember when EIP, first off, everyone was talking about, EIP 1559. That is gonna.
Yeah.
That was a classic. Yeah, that was a banger.
That was
Yeah.
Listen, that was
I celebrated that one. I celebrated that.
Yes, but let's be honest, it was a rug pull, right? It was.
I'm part of the problem.
But there's nothing. Listen, there's arguments for the merit of it for sure, but it's not the point. The point is this will get the fees down, and it is as
you've got to do a video.
No, but I think it was to be fair, it was misunderstood as that. I think everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's going to do that," and then everybody's like, "No, it's was never planned to do that.
Yeah, but the same people said those two things. Said, "Is this
Right,
going to
okay,
do it?
very
Just wait
confusing.
until," and then they're like,
PR EIP-ness, you know, it's like
and then so that was EIP, and then it's like, and then it's like ETH 2.0. As soon as we hit to move proof of stake, everything's going to be better. And
the
like
triple halvening, mate. That was the biggest one. The triple halvening. You can't get much bigger than that.
As far as scaling, right? It's like this is going to scale it if we have 2.0, and then by that point, I kind of like knew that proof of stake is just an anti-Sybil mechanism. It doesn't change anything on it in and of itself for like scalability. And I was just like, so are they going to increase the gas limit magically when they had before? And it's like, well, that wasn't on the table. I'm just like, I know you're full of shit. And then when that happened, then it's just like, I don't know what it is now, where it's just like, oh, wait, sharding is going to happen. And then as Justin is very happy to point out, which 90% of Ethereans don't know that execution sharding is off the roadmap. It's not happening. And like they just don't know. They're like, oh yeah, when sharding happens, and they're like, it's not happening. They're like, where? I missed that. And I'm like, exactly, you missed that. Everyone missed that. It's on purpose. And now they're talking about this weird proto-dank sharding. Listen, I don't have time for that stuff. Ain't nobody got time for that. But I can tell you it's not going to scale ETH. I can tell you I've been here before. And so that's all that to not say anything about CTV while saying everything about CTV it's bullshit. It's not going to do anything. Of course,
it's not going to do
feel
anything.
free.
They're not going to get it in, and even if they did, it's just like it's like a bauble.
So
it's like a shiny thing.
Sorry, is that the new SegWit for Bitcoin?
Yes,
so that
basically.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember
so new
Tap-
But it's
accounting trick.
one of them. They've also got APO, they've got OpVault, they've got Drive Chain. So they've got so many now.
Maybe it's
they
because
don't
they-
know which
At
one
least
they
drive
want.
chains, like as I'm sure you're aware, would be a solution of kinds. Not the kind that
Yes.
I'd prefer. I'd prefer
Yes.
bigger blocks.
That's why it's the least popular one, because it would actually work.
Yes,
maybe.
because drive chains are just a peg sidechain that basically gives L1 fees, and you could just make your big block Bitcoin on Bitcoin, and that's it. I'm like, wow, that's like simple and sounds like it works, and sounds like it's a poor substitute for increasing the block size, but at least it like works. And then of course, poor Paul's been fighting, been called a shitcoin scammer and all this kind of stuff, the usual. So yeah.
Asking from a maybe like a get me out of my own rabbit hole and my own tunnel vision. Like, why do you think Ethereans or the Ethereum, I don't even think that you call them that, Ethereum people have missed on the information that execution sharding is not on the roadmap anymore? Like, what, and why do you think, like, because I remember the BCH days, we would read those upgrade forks like mad people. Like, why do I still remember us debating canonical transaction ordering? Like, why is that like engraved here? And why do I don't remember a debate about, you know, executive sharding being just removed from the roadmap? So I'm just wondering, is this like from a community perspective, or from is there like a analysis of a sociological analysis here about communities and how they're constructed? I don't know.
I have a theory, but
Sorry to interrupt on this. I do realize I made a slight mistake on the stream because I used. You know what Jitsi is? I'm sure everyone. I've seen everyone at Jitsi. Like, Brave Talk uses Jitsi, but Brave Talk limits it to 4 participants, and we have another.
Yeah.
Someone else is trying to go in, so we have to shift over the
How are
stream.
we gonna do this?
So I will send the link to everyone, and then I'll switch to the waiting screen for a second, and then we'll be back. All right. So just keep
Oh
talking.
no! I thought you were gonna do like this crazy like Game of, you know, like Hunger Games.
We'd
have to fight or vote each other off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be me because Jeremy's got the Riz and Black Link's
I'm gonna have
pretty.
to go.
So
I'm gonna have to go in about it.
Desert Links is the host.
Or I could just like leave and then just like let everyone else run my show. I just go into the hot tub.
It's Jeremy's podcast now.
And then he just calls it, renames it to the Bcash Power Hour, and then we're all done.
Yeah, it's the Bitcoin Cash Rundown, mate. I'm always waiting for you to rebrand. Like every time I tune in, it's like, and so the big blockers said, you know, Roger Ver thought that blah blah blah. And by the way, I'm still loving like Craig
He has
Wright.
an
Like
ETH
every
t-shirt. He has an.
Yeah.
I know
Yes,
we're just the
listen,
same bunch.
We're
We're
all just
balance.
shitcoiners, okay?
yeah.
Actually, so I'm gonna hit the waiting screen real quick. Everyone who's watching, just don't go anywhere. We'll be back in like 2 minutes. I'll get a link and I'll send it. All right.
right, we're back.
Whoops. And we're back. Hey, we changed the jet engine midstream. That's great.
We did a little joke that it was just like when ETH changed its consensus algorithm. So you missed
Yeah.
that. That was
I thought it was
Off-
a Gavin. It was a Gavin Andreessen reference. He famously said that about Bitcoin development, like in 2012 or something. He said somebody said like, "Why don't we just fucking do this or that?" And he was like, "You got to understand, we're changing the engine in the plane with the plane in midair." And that's wrecked.
Yeah,
That's
how
an
come
OG
BCH
reference.
doesn't change the mining algorithm? Huh.
Yeah.
You should be able to see yourself, by the way, Kallisti. I don't know how it was, but I somehow changed one of the settings. You've got to go toggle tile view, and then you should be able to see yourself.
I'm in the tile view.
But just not with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the toggle tile.
Maybe it's because I'm on Firefox instead of Chrome. Do you think that might?
That's it. Yeah, that's what I. Yeah,
Yeah, Firefox.
Uh,
Well, I'm
well,
on Brave.
Brave. Get on Brave. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Brave is Chromium, right? So.
Yeah, Chromium based, so it's the same.
All right, well,
Elle,
let me
are
get
you on Brave?
No, I'm on Chrome.
Damn it. Did you know that your Chrome is
I
spying on
know.
you?
Yes. Oh my god. I was waiting for it. I was waiting to be called out.
Yeah, so for those who don't get the joke, they probably do. So Naomi Brockwell has done a fantastic pivot from kind of, general crypto-y stuff to just hard focus on privacy, and she's been fantastically successful, and I applaud her awesome efforts. And I finally convinced her to start posting her full videos onto X directly, and it's been doing great. So, all that, yes, I bullied her into it. But so, I kind of jokingly encapsulate her life's work as, did you know that your phone is spying on you? And she used to get slightly annoyed by that.
She has a T-shirt. She should have it in her merch. Like that should be a great mug. Or
I would
T-shirt.
Yeah,
make
that's
one
good.
for her. And so
Yeah,
the thing
you
is,
should.
it's a catchphrase. It's kind of like, it's a catchphrase, and so it works because people remember it, even though it's a little.
Yeah.
And then on her random videos, I'll comment, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea that my phone was spying on me. Thanks for letting me know." And it's kind of part of that. So that's where that comes from. But
So
yes,
who's the new guest? We switched, and there's no
Yeah.
new person. Is it
Um,
all a flood? What?
They lost.
Did he?
They lost the Hunger Game.
I mean, 3 minutes ago, he's like, it's telling me call is full. I mean, he must have gotten sad. It would be Grant. Everyone remembers
let's
that
go.
guy. That guy.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
listen, it's about to become the Litecoin, the chicken power hour in here. Because Litecoin
Arise.
has been doing. And here's the thing. Before, I mean, I'll reprise it, I guess, when he comes in. But I used to be such a Litecoin hater because.
Good.
Okay.
And then you scared him away. Be nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
I-
You switched
Brave.
it.
Okay, so tell me why Brave is already shilling Google Calendar and Office 365 integration at me.
Just words, man. Words can't hurt you.
Bro, I thought this was supposed to be
That's a
better.
pretty good one.
Yeah, but it does block all the tracking shit. And
It's already shilling Google and Microsoft products at me. I just installed it.
yeah, but they're paying for these ads, right? You can get a piece of that ad rev.
I'm not installing this extension. No, thank you.
Yes. Did you know that your Google is spying? Anyway. Yes, but so
Well, I can see myself now. So.
as I was
Thank you.
saying about Litecoin, so it seemed to be just like a dumb copy of Bitcoin that Charlie Lee and the people involved in creating it did some shady things, but also they just seem to be like, for lack of a better word, like cucked. Like
Sure.
oh, speaking of which, there we go.
Hey,
Grant.
Perfect timing, man.
Hi.
Love
What
that.
what were you talking about?
We were talking about
Litecoin
Litecoin.
Underground in the house.
I'm suspicious.
So as I was just kind of giving intro to Litecoin because Litecoin's had quite the year. And
Yeah.
so as I was saying, I admit I used to be a Litecoin hater. I used to be like,
Hate.
this is like a cheap knockoff and they're way too cozy with like the BTC awful people and all that kind of stuff. And like, nah, like whatever. And technologically, the first thing that caught my attention, of course, was MWeb because I'm like, oh, you mean you're doing something new, something different, not just copy Bitcoin. Oh, this is interesting. And then I started seeing like the transaction counts go up, not just for like dumb spam things, but also for like on the payment processors and stuff. And I'm just like, and then also I started seeing like coiners talk more about digital cash and start being a little bit more adversarial with the Bitcoiners about that stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't know. I'm kind of warming up to this crew.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of feel a little responsible for that, right? I don't
Thank
know.
you.
I think one of the things about Litecoin, I was always surprised. I remember when I first made a video. Actually, if you want to know my origin story, I made a video about the whole Walmart fiasco
Oh,
because I was in this mindset. I was in like the fake news mindset, like debunking fake news, I guess would be the best way to put it. A lot of it around like COVID, and I started recognizing how like these narratives get formed, and even major news outlets will take like a tweet from an account that doesn't even have any followers, right? So you're going, they probably already just fabricated this tweet, and they're using it as a reason to write an article, and they may have written the tweet, right? So as soon as that Walmart thing happened, I thought that's really suspicious, because why is Litecoin? If you were a supporter of Litecoin, you wouldn't do this, right? You would know it was going to fall on its face. So the only people who do this would be someone trying to, like, I guess, put a black mark on Litecoin. And I found
the Walmart thing. Sorry, I need.
So there was an announcement. This was like September of 21, I think. There was an announcement. It was like from the public relations of Walmart, their website said they're going to accept Litecoin as the cryptocurrency, as their only cryptocurrency, right? Like, suspicious right away. And then
that sounds like an amazing PR news for
breaking.
Right.
Elon integrates Doge as the only crypto payment for X.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
But then like Reuters picked it up, like legit news outlets picked it up, and Litecoin.com, or the Litecoin Twitter account retweeted it, because they said, they're like, like PayPal happened, they didn't know about it. There's it's not like it's a company. And so it shot at Litecoin went up like $50 in about 10 minutes, and then instantly it was debunked 5 minutes later. But what I found is that I went into the day after, there were a bunch of posts about like delist Litecoin. And I'm like, how ridiculous is this? And I went to all these accounts, and you could go down tons of them, and they were all based in Turkey. Like, they would speak, all their posts were in Turkish, except all of a sudden on this day, it was delist Litecoin. It was like some sort of weird coordinated attack. And it was, so that's how I got started on it. Yes. And so that's how I kind of, I don't know, had some prominence in Litecoin. And so I started doing the spaces, mostly as just kind of like, let's do some community building. And it kind of morphed into just having good conversations. And it's been nice, because I've gotten a lot of people, like the MWeb thing, I think brought a lot of like Monero folks in, and trying to keep it focused on the digital cash. And I'm pretty anti-Lightning Network. I think that its only use case is between white market exchanges, right? Or like places where you're not worried about revealing your identity, or you've already revealed your identity. But, to actually use it as this decentralized thing, I think is proving to be just not realistic. And I don't want us to go down that same path, because I don't think it's ultimately, it ultimately isn't going to get anywhere. I'm really interested to see what happens with the ETF. I think that's going to, we've already seen, it looks like Bitcoiners have just abandoned the principle. Or not all of them, but, the loudest voices just aren't even.
Sorry for being such a Lightning noob, but can you also quickly catch me up on what is MWeb and what that does for Litecoin? Sorry, I'm just like, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm using your podcast.
I'm gonna go.
Just an interview about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit the bathroom real quick.
Perfect.
Keep talking about that. If you need anything else when I come back, because I did do a lot of digging into MWeb now. But anyway,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not an MWeb expert.
Go take it from me. I'll be back.
Oh, well, I know nothing. So, and I'm just obviously using Joel's wonderful holiday invitation to just catch up on every community here.
I met you.
We're all here, right?
No. It's great. Well, Joel's special. See, he freaks out of his.
MWeb is an extension block. So again, I'm not going to technically know what. So blocks are mined alongside Litecoin blocks. So it's all in the protocol. So you don't have to leave it. use some sort of third party. And you can take your Litecoin, your whitelisted Litecoin, we'll call it, or your transparent chain Litecoin, and move it into this extension block world where you can transact and the amounts aren't known of the addresses, your addresses aren't known. And so you have stealth addresses, and
that's why you mentioned the Monero. That's why you mentioned the Monero crossover maybe there, because so this is like Litecoin adding a privacy layer,
yeah,
but that's not a layer. It's like it's still on-chain, main chain.
Yes. They've been calling it like layer 1.5. What the developers call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't have, it's permissionless, right? You don't have to like, what I really like the way they did it is that you don't have to like agree.
MWeb.
Like if Jeremy wanted to receive MWeb, I don't have to say, hey, I'm sending you MWeb coins. Or give me an MWeb address, right?
It's the same. So wallet-wise,
they're
it looks
unique
like
addresses,
the same.
but what happens, like if he wants MWeb, he gives me an MWeb address. I can send my regular Litecoin, and the protocol just does it. There's no like
Cool.
coordination that has to happen.
Yeah.
And
So here's
that was
how
a big improvement over the old Mimblewimble, I think.
That's cool. Oh, it's
Yes.
a Mimblewimble.
Yeah, Mimblewimble
Yeah.
extension block. That's
Wait,
what
so
MWeb
Grin?
stands for.
Is this Grin tech then added to Litecoin?
Yeah,
Joel, it
yeah.
is BTC stuff.
So hold on. If you
It's just the
but it never
scam
made it into
repackaged.
BTC.
She's got to it. She's figured
But,
it out.
So here's what
I'm eating
I
a cookie and
didn't-
drinking a Coke. So.
yeah, go for it.
I like the hat.
done
I do like
I've done
that you
a lot of
actually
Disney
tried.
Spirit, you know, you only get one Christmas a year, so let's go for
No,
it.
you're right. I feel very. Wait, okay. But if I do this, then it doesn't really work.
Listen, keep it. Oh, listen. No, you have to
That's what
keep
you
that on
should.
now.
No, it just looks ridiculous. But it's Mimblewimble.
Yeah, so
Litecoin
basically,
block extension
Privacy,
thing.
right?
That killed it for her. As soon as you said Mimblewimble, she was out. She was
Because
on
I
the hook for
remember.
this.
No, because I remember Grin messing up. Grin, you could. They said
Well,
stealth.
because-
It said you could not crack it, but you could.
Well, hold on. So I've
Okay, I'll hold
gone
my
down
horses.
this rabbit hole pretty deeply right now.
Okay,
So
okay.
first off, just quick on Grin. Grin sucks, and compared to, sorry to all the Grin maxis out there, but it sucks.
Do you remember how that was the only altcoin allowed to talk on the Bitcoin, our Bitcoin? And we were all like, on RBTC being like, look at them talking about this altcoin. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
Why am I
terrible.
remembering these things? I swear I have
Now you can only
PTSD from
talk
being an
about
our
other.
Bitcoin and RBTC.
You're
So-
not the only person to have said that exact thing.
Okay. Oh God, I'm just
Yeah.
indoctrinated. I think I stepped out. I'm just the same. It's just like,
So Grin had this really terrible. Hold on a second.
I like that they use Harry Potter references. That's what I remember.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know that. Yeah.
Mimblewimble.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so-
but everything in
It's
that
a
white
mouthful.
paper had like, yeah, it had a bunch of different references to, and all
Yeah, so
all the
anyway.
devs had like Harry Potter names and stuff.
Basically, well, let me
author.
just explain the privacy rundown real quick, right? So with UTXO coins, you just send to people, but you get there's coins, not just a balance. There's coins, and they can move between addresses. Typically, you get a new address every single time, but when you get change, but then when you combine those in another payment, you kind of like connect those addresses and reveal your privacy. So the first step, of course, is coin join, where you mix your funds with a whole bunch of different people, and then some funds in there, then send from there. And it's hard. What they call breaks a transaction graph, where you have a coin, instead of here to here, it's here to, and then out somewhere. Now, what Mimblewimble does is it has like a coin join every block, but also, which kind of breaks a transaction graph, but also because it has like stealth addresses, you don't actually expose like amounts in balances and addresses. They don't really, it's a completely different architecture, and it is more data intensive to use than regular transactions, but it discards almost all the transaction data so that the actual hard drive space is less intensive. So there's a little bit of a misconception a lot in the Litecoin world about MWeb is going to be a scaling solution. Sort of. It means that it'll be harder to scale if everyone uses it, because those are more intensive transactions data-wise, but there's just less hard drive space because there isn't this blockchain left behind. And so one of the problems with Grin, there's a bunch of problems with it, but one of the big problems is just like Lightning, you could only transact with people who are currently online. And that's just dumb.
What?
The MWeb block does not have that problem at all because
Oh, okay. Okay.
David,
Sorry, I thought
David
that was for
Burkett was like, this sucks, and he just threw it out. So, yeah. So what I really like this extension block idea. I have to do more research into it, admittedly, but basically with an extension block is there's a block and there's a parallel block. That's the MWeb block. And so transactions, so a node can process, because it's a soft fork in this case, a node can just see the regular Litecoin blockchain, or if it is on this version, it can see the MWeb block alongside. And so when you bridge into it, all the blockchain sees is this kind of like, like a tornado cache or whatever, sees one address getting like a whale, becoming a whale as more people go into it. And in the meantime, the parallel block has all the Mimble, all the privacy stuff going on. But then if you want to send from your private funds to like an exchange or something, all the exchange sees is this whale sent something to the exchange. And that's kind of how it works. It's a kind of an interesting, clever solution, I think. And you just need some bubble wallets on that, and then it's going to be pretty kick-ass. But basically, you can bridge in with one, bridge out with one. I think you have to wait 6 confirmations to move it after you bridge out. But, I mean, that's like 1.5 Bitcoin blocks.
Yeah, the other thing about the scaling is that the block is expandable up to it's not a 1-to-1, like it's not a 1 megabyte to 1 megabyte type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about weights. This is where I get lost a bit, but it's supposed to be essentially, they said it's like maybe 10 megabytes, but the transactions are a little more intense. So it might be more like a 6 megabyte expandable block. So it can grow. Mm-hmm. Now it's not that today, but it was in the soft fork that they did that it can grow if it needs to. And I kind of get the sense that Charlie would like to see this be the primary way Litecoin gets used as far as the mobile experience, right? If I'm going to use it, I might as well just use MWeb, right?
Now, so hang on a second. So if you've got 6, you've got 6 in the MWeb block, you've got 1 in the regular block, right? Megabytes roughly, and then you've got 2.5 minute blocks, right? So it's 28 megs per 10 minutes.
So, yeah,
roughly.
Let's say roughly, yeah. As far as transaction capacity, but like Joel said, that was something I learned in that interview, is that it's less to download the node because it's something like there's the cryptographic proof, right? It eliminates all the in-betweens of your transaction. It just keeps your input and your output, essentially.
Or rather,
right?
Yeah, because it's just like, when you have like a coin join or whatever, like all these coins fly all over the place. It's like pruning those transactions. So essentially every MWeb node is a pruned node, except if you run a pruned node, and this is where you get like super technical for some people, I don't know. But basically to run a full node of any major crypto for the most part, you have to download the entire blockchain from the Genesis block all the way on. And in a pruned node, you download the entire thing and then you just delete most of it afterwards. But you still have to do that initial download, which takes sometimes days. Because when I ran my Lightning node, again, pour one out for the homies here. When I ran my Lightning node, it took a few days to sync the entire blockchain on the Bitcoin blockchain onto that. Now with Mimblewimble, because it doesn't keep a blockchain history, it just keeps something called a kernel, which I'm not going to go deeper into that. That's how much I know. But basically, it takes a lot less time to sync because you don't have to sync the entire blockchain history because you don't have it. So initial sync for a full node is less. Now, mobile devices take a lot longer to sync than, like, let's say, a regular SPV wallet currently. It's not as bad as, like, a Monero wallet or something, for example, but it does take a little longer.
But why do I remember that Mimblewimble on Grin failed?
Well,
am I wrong to remember this? But I remember
yes. Well, here's what probably remember. someone put out
Because I found pictures of me going to the meetup in 2019, and I'm actually like, I can't believe I still have this. But I went to it, and we were all like, okay, interesting. And of course, the only I see sponsor of that event is actually a BTC Maxi exchange in the Netherlands, whatever. But I remember that it didn't work, and this is why Grin didn't take off, right? Like there was also like the privacy and the pruning,
Yes.
and it looks
So-
good, but it
so
doesn't work in
here-
reality, or the
here's what it
number of users.
here's
What's the difference with this one?
it was
on Litecoin?
it was, I would say 2/3 FUD, 1/3 real. It talked about an actual potential vulnerability. I would say it's like a potential vulnerability, but it's like a known limitation, I would call that. They talked about a known limitation, so everyone's like, we already knew this, and they kind of played it up. The limitation is, as far as I'm aware, the sniffer node problem, where if there's like 10 nodes that are doing this, and there's like about 600 or so MWeb nodes right now, so it's a lot better, but that I can remember. Maybe I'm misremembering. The point is, if there's like 10 nodes, if an attacker runs like 3 or 4 of these nodes and just, they can kind of see when the transactions bounce around to each other, they can sort of statistically count some out and be like, oh, I think it's to that person. They still don't know the amount, right? Because that's hidden, but they can maybe kind of start to do that. But that's what you call like a Sybil attack or something. Hello, Mr. Rare. It's the rarest of passengers.
So guys,
Hello.
got so carried away in writing. So
Okay, I just found it. Grin got 51% attacked, but that's
Yes.
very different.
But let me, we're just
Maybe that was the
talking about
confusion
Grin.
of.
So that was about Mimblewimble technology as far as a privacy thing. It's kind of a balance between like super hardcore Zcash style stuff and just something that's more lightweight and doesn't have as much, isn't as data intensive. So it's pretty good, but not perfect, but fine. Grin was a piece of, first of all, Grin decided to try to be like a fairest launch ever, pure proof of work, no, like in the area where that doesn't happen anymore. And so they just like had no money and got wrecked. And then because they were like a teeny hash rate on a new chain, they just got wrecked with a 51% attack. And because they made stupid design decisions where node syncing was annoying, and when you had to transact with an online person, otherwise they couldn't, they had to be online at the same time, which is not with Litecoin's implementation at all. And
It's very Lightning Network reminiscent.
yeah, it's this
feature.
giant boondoggle that just didn't work. Now Beam, Beam is the other Mimblewimble coin, and as far as I know, they're working on some really cool stuff like, shielded DeFi and all this other weird stuff like that. If you want to experience Mimblewimble like as it was meant to be, I guess Beam is probably your best bet right now. I do have the Beam wallet on my phone just to do the syncing times. It does take a little bit to sync initially, but Anyway, all that to say, how's it going, Mr. Rare?
yeah, that's a lot of fucking coins, man. Too many coins to keep up with. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, too many corns. There's the blue corn. There's the yellow corn. There's that starchy white corn. Lots of corns.
Too many. I'll just go with regular tortilla, please. We're good.
Which, fun fact, I have been making my own corn tortillas from scratch lately. That's nice.
Humble brag.
Go, no, it's good.
The corn tortilla, the new ordinal craze.
Yeah, that's a, fuck it. I should make that right now. Just one of the most garbage looking ordinals. Toss it up there. See if that banks anything. All right.
Yeah, do it. Well, I'm going to have my second coffee of the day, which is a cocktail. So
Word.
feel free to break out the
Happy Friday.
Yeah, I know.
it's Friday. Feel free. I'm sorry, the audio only people who have to deal with my making a cocktail live on air, which is not the only time I've done it on my podcast, by the way. For the last episode of the Zcash podcast, was it a couple weeks ago? I did that as well, and so.
Hey, there's that crypto and coffee podcast.
This is an eggnog espresso martini.
Ah, that sounds lovely.
Yeah. So
Remember when you're drinking that pinky up, man.
You know what's funny? I'm permanently a pinky up guy because I got this finger injured in a jiu-jitsu incident a few years ago, and so I can't make a full fist with it. See, it's not all the way there, so it's permanently up. I can't like close it, so I am permanently a pinky up guy.
Oh, there you go, man. Forever fancy.
Yes, forever fancy. For weird.
That's
reasons.
like the most unlikely origin of the pinky up is
Yes.
jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Queen Elizabeth, she was in there on the mats, and one thing led to another, and next thing
Yeah.
you know, you got a cultural movement 50
Trendsetter.
years later. So
Absolutely.
I could see that, she goes over for an arm bar and just lands on that pinky, and
You should have a T-shirt, pinky up only, right?
Yeah.
Up only.
Good one.
Pinky up all.
your Doge pillow needs to have a pinky up right behind it.
Yeah, I forget. So, like, as I pointed out, I'm wearing the ETH Dam shirt from when I went to the conference that Eléonore organized last year. It was great. And unfortunately, I wore my 1-inch socks yesterday. And so they're in the wash. So I don't know if you know the 1-inch protocol. It's like some DEX thingy.
Yeah.
They were a sponsor, and so they gave out these purple socks. And also, I am incapable of mentioning 1-inch without doing the sign at the same time because it's a weird name.
Not this one. It's the 1-inch punch by Bruce Lee.
No, it's a 1-inch because it's.
No,
like,
it's
that's all
not
you
that
get.
one. It's much cooler.
Okay.
Punch somebody with a pinky.
What's this have to do with 1 inch? What am I missing there?
I think you know what it is.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hey.
1-inch punch by Bruce Lee. So
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's how they named.
Isn't that
They
like
named it after
you go
that.
like that kind of thing?
Yeah.
You go. It's everything in 1-inch
But
punch.
can we at least agree that it's a little bit of a dubious name? Like,
Hey, when devs do marketing, and then it's like the name of the thing you do at a hackathon and it sticks and then you get funded and then you run with it and it's funny and then it's a joke and then at every other presentation the business team has to explain it and demonstrate the 1-inch punch. It works. It works.
Yeah.
Memorable.
They're a DEX aggregator, if you're all wondering.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, how's everybody else doing right now?
That's good.
doing good.
Love it,
Good
yeah.
to see, man. I was sad to see that you've been injured and you've been started complaining on Twitter, like, I want to get back into it, but I kind of wrecked myself, and
Yeah,
that's tough, man.
it sucks, dude. Even trying to sit down is a nightmare. Like, it
it's
just
brutal.
yeah, it's I can just feel bone grinding on each other as I go to sit down and get up, and I'm not really happy about that.
What did you do?
It's a knee thing.
So I went for a heavy squat. I haven't done it in a while because I've been traveling, and I got a little cocky. And I was like, "Oh, I can take this weight," and went down a little past parallel, which I was really proud of, and I felt something kind of go in my knee, but then I still kept pushing through. I got up. I'm like, "Hey, this is great," and then afterwards, I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm done. Day's over." It was a sharp pain after that.
Ouch.
So it's just like a slight tear on the LMT. So it's on the lateral side of my knee, and should take around 6 to 9 months to heal up properly.
Yeah.
Well, no surgery is the good news, right?
Yeah,
That's
no surgery.
I'm gonna go on that.
So
I probably have something similar because I get tweaked my knee because I have my foot at a right angle and someone jumped their whole body weight and made a big pop sound. I'm like, oh shit. It's fine, but it just hurts a little bit and it's hurt for a couple months. And it's one of those things,
yeah, it's always the right side, right? Like I've got this gnarly gash when I used to skateboard. It's healed up nicely over the years. Then my right knee's also taken just like a beating. And I think I'm coming up to the point where I'm like, yep, even lifting is starting to become questionable at my age. So
You can keep lifting, but just scale it down a bit. Don't be trying to set a world records necessarily,
Yeah, you don't need to
don't
like
gotta
push
be on
past
it
the
every
pop.
time.
You don't push past the pop.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, but it
Yeah.
has
Some
forced me to like
calisthenics.
slow down and just like reconsider some things and change it up a bit. So
Well, what you need, sir, is some steroids.
yes, steroids and stem cells.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a guy who
sounds
comes
like
in
a-
all the time.
That
He
sounds like
talked
a
about
great
stem cells. Oh, sorry.
a great bar name or something. Steroids and stem cells. It's like
No, I got a guy who comes in all the time.
biohacker.
He said he went to Mexico to get stem cells
Mm-hmm.
for a shoulder injury. He said it was unbelievable. He's like, the next morning I woke up, I felt like I haven't felt in 20 years, and my shoulder's been better in a week. He said it's unbelievable.
I know a place, and I know they take crypto. So if anyone wants the link, I'll send it to you guys, and then you could just get shot full of the good stuff.
No liability. Is there a legal disclaimer in there, Joel? Or
Oh,
how confident are you in this operation?
well, one of my
Here's his
former
referral link.
one of my former business associates. But yeah, do they have one? Because I would like to make some bucks off of that. That'd be nice. But anyway, I can't shill everything.
Well, apparently there's different types of stem cells. There's like the good stuff is illegal in the U.S. and Canada. That's why he had to go to Mexico. Whatever that is, I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't done enough research.
I've seen a lot of strongmen and powerlifters head over to like Costa Rica to get stem cell treatment. So it's a thing. It's a consideration. Maybe Mexico, just a
Yeah.
little poke.
And it's cheap. I guess it's really inexpensive down there. Healthcare.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
we're good other than that. Just taking it easy, enjoying a taste of I guess semi-retirement right now. So
What's the digital nomad story? You also started going really hard posting about digital nomad and I'm moving around, and you told me you're going all these crazy places. And then in between that, you're like, yeah, and I'm sorting stuff with my wife and like everything's going on. And I'm like, how is this? Usually digital nomad is like, see you later, society. I'm just checking out. But you didn't seem to be doing that. What's the deal?
yeah, so this year we did a lot of touring, right? So like the first half of the year was most of the U.S. and just checking out different places. Is it possible? Where do we like? And then for the job I was working at before, I was going to get shipped off to Korea anyways. So we figured, hey, why not, make the damage instead of paying for, $1,000-something ticket, let's chip away at it by going to different countries and seeing if we like living that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. So now we came back in November because I was in Central America. And we're like, yep, this is fun. We liked it. We liked the idea. And now we're busy selling everything. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Oh, damn. So what was your favorite country you stopped off in?
Man, I really liked Asia. Korea and Japan were fun. That was a fun place. And Guatemala was another one. Guatemala was the one place where I could live on crypto 100% of the time.
No one talks about
Which
it.
cryptos? Yeah.
Yeah, no one talks about it. But I mean, I was mostly in Antigua, all right, which is a really beautiful, capital. Well, not the capital now, but used to be. But yeah, there's crypto everywhere, right?
Crypto or Bitcoin? Because I've heard those are two different things.
Yeah, I know, right?
Depends on who you ask.
It was mostly Bitcoin, which is fine. But then there were some parts of the areas that were Dash, another area that was Litecoin. And then maybe like two places that were doing like L2 ETH chains, but they were kind of few and far between. But there's a lot.
Which
It's interesting,
L2s?
like,
Because I'm sure
Oh, go ahead.
Eléonore knows a lot more about these, but there's so many L2s, and I don't know which is the cool ones. I thought it was going to be Polygon. That's what I put all my NFTs on, and then apparently Arbitrum's the one now. But then Arbitrum got halted. Is it going to be Base? I don't know. Anyway, which L2s
Yeah,
are they?
Don't ask. I think this is remnants from my BCH days, but I like the on-chain scaling thing, so I'm not a big fan of the whole. I know, shocking in this house of big blockers and on-chain scaling house. So no, I don't. Actually, when I get paid for stuff, or I always ask for layer 1. I'm one of those. If you're gonna pay me, I want your
Yes.
because I don't want to go and chase all, and consolidate everything. Then that's on me. At the end of an event, if I have all these sponsorships and then or people paying for tickets and these obscured layers, and I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't want to consolidate anything. So
That's been my biggest beef with all this Lightning stuff is when they're like, why don't all these businesses accept Lightning? It's like you're wanting them to pay the fee. Like that's if you want to use it, use it. Why you expect the merchant to eat that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they do for Visa and MasterCard already.
Yeah. It's not as bad, though, on Visa and MasterCard, which is something I really wish I never had to say. But
Those actually work. That's the difference. Like,
I think you are paying it. You're just paying it in higher prices, right?
Yeah, or sometimes they add on. Like I know
exactly.
there's some taco trucks or whatever that do like 5% surcharge for cards because they can't if you just give them cash, they can pay their employees with cash. They can't pay their employees from their bank account because their employees don't have bank accounts because they shouldn't be in the country according to the government. So, it's like cash is king, digital cash is king. I think it's kind of funny. So I've been talking to someone approached me wanting to sponsor the podcast. We will remain anonymous, but we're talking about stuff back and forth, and eventually got to the conversation of, hey, like we usually historically have always paid people in Bitcoin, but that doesn't really work super well. So some contractors have requested, Bitcoin Cash, so now we do Bitcoin Cash as well. And I'm just like, freaking, I'll take it, L1, cheap. I could use it on things directly. And then also I was talking with Bitwage on Twitter. We'll actually out them because, Bitwage is a fantastic company because for many years, listen, I'm going to shut on them in a second. Hold on.
Incoming referral link as well, QR code on the screen for everybody listening.
Dude, is this my reputation, man? Like,
Yeah.
Anyway,
Pretty much.
So basically it's allowed anyone to get their paycheck in, used to be just Bitcoin, and then it was Bitcoin, ETH, and some stables is where they're at now. And so and they're also like non-custodial. I think Coinbase has a direct deposit option where you can get direct deposit, but then it turns into crypto in your Coinbase account, and then you have to withdraw it still. Whereas Bitwage, it just goes right to your wallet. They don't touch that stuff. But so for example, my YouTube ads and stuff, which by the click on the ads, I'm just kidding, don't click on the ads. But the way I get paid out from that stuff is through Bitwage. The problem is, like, everyone knows who's ever done any YouTube stuff, the ad revenue is peanuts. And so it's, what am I going to do? Spend $20 in Bitcoin fees to just, like, receive $40 in ad revenue after 6 months or something like that? I mean,
dude, $20 is cheap, man.
Listen,
wait till you're paying like $100 to send that 20.
You should have consolidated your UTXOs on Christmas Day. Have you seen those posts? People saying, wait for Christmas Day and consolidate your UTXOs. And I'm just like, anyway, so Bitwage actually said, well, we pay the transaction fees. I'm like, yeah, but then I have the money. And then when I send it, it gets halved. The halvening right there, just wham. Just the halvening is
the real halvening. I love that. Joel gets a weekly halvening.
There's
chain. I love that.
So yeah, I'll beef with them until they like fix this because this is nonsense. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to go to Coinbase, a custodial solution, which again for the whoever will only pay me in fiat, which I assume will also be Twitter when I get monetized like next week or whatever. But when that happens, maybe they'll pay me in Doge. I don't know. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So swap in.
Where's the Doge representation here? You got to find a Doge friend, Joel.
Well, see back there.
Yeah, I got it. He can't talk.
Yeah, so Joel's not really a Dash maxi, right? He's a Doge maxi in disguise.
Yes, that's the D that threw you off.
Yeah.
The thing about Doge, I did pay Dash for that Doge pillow, but if I had paid Doge, I would have gotten a 20% discount. But I didn't have any Doge to do it at the time. And Yeah.
What is this? Where's your innovative thinking? Where was the Thor swap? Where was the side shift?
This was many years
20%, mate. That's a lot of fucking
This
APY,
was many.
you know,
This was many
compounded
years ago, my friend.
over 50 years. You could have been staking that ever since. Like, the losses here are catastrophic.
Yeah, this was before side shift really started to take off, I guess, as far as I remember. But yeah, it was. I also didn't have one. Oh, whatever. It's a long story, but do we know any Dogecoin users, or are they all like
Indigo Nakamoto? I mean, I've never talked to him like in an actual podcast.
But he's like a
or
Litecoiner
anything like
though,
that.
right?
Yeah, he's our
Is he?
They
Oh, I thought he
always
was a
just
Dogecoiner.
shill Dogecoin because they're like, it's merge mined.
Yeah,
Therefore
we can
good.
say we
That's-
can get
Doesn't harm
Nakamoto
us.
up here, right?
Can't get
He's a
friendly
Dogecoiner.
fire.
So
Exactly.
Grant, you're going to be the designated Doge guy here because of
All
the
right,
merge
that's
mine.
fine. Yeah, Doge has the Elon a long time ago said, or I don't know if he said this specifically, but I've always gotten this thing like money is kind of a meme, right? It's about everybody collectively buying into an idea, and Doge has the meme power, and like it's undeniable. It took root, and you go into those communities, they got a lot more spaces and podcasts and people interested in that than Litecoin. So the asset itself, yeah, that matters. Like the numbers matter, the inflation rate matters, but inflation only matters if adoption outpaces inflation. That's all you need. That's what we're seeing like on all these, that's what's happened with Bitcoin. It's been inflating for almost 15 years, but adoption outpaced inflation, so it doesn't matter.
But the thing is, I mean, even that said, and I haven't looked into Doge for a while, so I don't know. But the problem is that like numbers aren't everything. Maybe they have tons and tons of people in Doge, but still nobody's impressed because the hardcore node devs who are already in short supply, like how many of them are like, haha, Dogecoin, like I love it, and like how many top end devs?
Well-
if you just don't have them, it doesn't matter how many like.
I don't think
hilarious.
anybody. I would tell you like nobody. Less than 2% of people in crypto care how many people are devs on a coin.
No, but I'm saying they're the ones who do most of the heavy lifting over the long run, right? So it's like you can have a lot of excitable,
Yeah.
12-year-olds in Doge, but that doesn't.
I
it's not
shared
gonna
on
win
Yeah,
the
but
race.
money talks, man.
I shared
mean,
on
that's-
the
that's
Twitter.
the thing.
I shared on the X stream a comment to a BitInfo charts link, and I'm going to just put it up on the screen if you'd rather look at it there. But of transactions, so let's hit this real quick. So this is in the last
Is
year.
it like 12% or something, right?
Well, it is in the last year, right? Between
Well,
Bitcoin,
Ordinals went nuts.
Dogecoin, and Litecoin. And first of all, in the last couple months, Litecoin has started to like take over Bitcoin as far as full transaction volume. But then you see Dogecoin transactions somewhere around summer of this year, and now it got to like a 2.5 million transactions a day thing. It's pretty insane. So, like the funny thing about Dogecoin is like people use Dogecoin and then it got the hype train and then the transactions per day went down to like almost nothing, and that's kind of where they still are. But anytime there's a meme pump, a meme coin pump, an ordinals pump, whatever, it just goes to the freaking moon. So, I mean, I'm a free marketeer through and through, and it pains me to say that the free market is right, because what the hell is this shit? But but I can't argue with it because people are using it and they're paying money to use it, and it's just, unfortunately, as Sergey of BitRefill likes to say, he said, most people in crypto for the casino, and so it's the casino is what we're talking about here. Is the number one.
Well, look, here's what you look at Doge is it's the best onboarding tool we have for crypto. People go in, it's a UTXO.
What about Nano?
But it's proof
Low
of work, right?
fees.
It operates in the same way as Bitcoin, Litecoin, like it functions the same, right? So it's none of these weird addresses and weird wallets, and so in that sense, it's really cheap. It's easy. It's fun. Like, again, as a 12-year-olds, the kids, yeah, sure, but they're introduced to it and they get to understand how it functions in a really kind of low risk, low dollar amount way. And I don't see the harm in it, right?
So maybe we're
I'm not-
fine with. So if Doge is like the funny one, how do we feel about the adoption of like USDT and Tron, and them being like the biggest adopted means of exchange in crypto?
It's up there.
That one keeps me up at night because
That's
the
the one
day
who
Tether blows
everyone
up, we're
hates.
fucked. And then
Well,
The dollar is
Like-
the dollar is still the best option for a large portion of the world. It's like a really good option. Free,
Right.
low fee transactions, stable value.
sure. But I'm talking about in the crypto side. Like if we're like, oh, who's our champions over the last, 15 years of us
so listen,
being doing
this
Yeah.
business?
let me be super, I guess, normie and this kind of stuff. But the dollar, like if anyone could choose, like to put their life savings and income into anything, that's literally the only thing that they could spend to feed their family or whatever, and over the next whatever, almost everyone would have to pick the dollar. And even like crypto people who like they have their stash of crypto they hope goes up, and then they dollar cost average. But like if there's a bear market and you can't pay your bills and you have no recourse, like almost no one. So as far as like what provides objective utility, right? The relative stability of the dollar. Again, the dollar is stable in a downward trajectory. Let's not make any games about that. But it's a godsend to people in other countries that like, they might be like, oh, Bitcoin's going up, but then the fee is this, and then, then it also dumps, and I had enough for rent and I don't have enough for rent and I'm on the streets. And like, it's objectively like that. People just want money that works. And more importantly, like the ability to just like, what does this cost? Like the price, what's the price of Bitcoin? That is entirely a dollar denominated thing. The entire world runs on that stuff. So from a very practical utilitarian standpoint, Tether on Tron is like an 8 out of 10. Would not give it a 9 or more out of 10 because you still have to have Tron as gas. And I've seen some South Americans get all upset because they don't understand, why can't I send it? It's this. And it also costs too much because it's a smart contract. And they're like, oh, I don't want to pay 50 cents to send my dollars or whatever. Okay, wait till you try BTC for a day, dude. But the point is, like, the free market is always right. And I hate it because the free market doesn't like the things I like. But I don't care because it's right. And so what we have to do as proponents of freedom and awesomeness and the world a big better place is find a way to build products and services that customers want and take those to market. And so as part of this is I don't think any crypto, payment crypto especially, will survive long term if it doesn't have an era where its primary product is a dollar denominated stable coin on that network. I think that's just what you got to do for a little while at least, until people realize, oh, this is better. And then like Venmo is the killer app, right? Now, if you do a Venmo that can't confiscate your shit, that's the killer app, right? So every crypto out there should have some super easy social payments thing that lets people send and receive dollars that aren't just in their minds, that also they can spend it somewhere. Like a whatever network, get it on Bitrefill so they can send their like BCH or LTC dollars, whatever, and buy something real, and then try to work to get it integrated into other things and things like that. And that's like the reality, because customers, you can't tell them they're wrong. They're not. They want what they want. You're their bitch. Sorry, it's just true. You got to give them what they want. And so Tron, unfortunately, is this like foundation of sand. It's this, like, no offense, Justin, on all them. I'm not saying Justin Bonds, Justin Son. No offense. It's crap, but they built a product people want on top of crap. If we want our not crap, we need to build a product people want on top of something good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to also think about other parts of the world is that everyone sits there and go, why aren't you saving your money in Bitcoin? And it's like, they don't have savings. Like you're talking about like a fee of $1 is more inflation than the US dollar will kill them in a year, right?
And
you
this
take
is
5%
crazy.
one transaction. Yeah, it's just that's the part where I think we live in a very sheltered world.
It's funny because people like when I first quit everything to just live on Bitcoin in 2015, in like 2016, I like my my income, gross income, was like 12 to 15 grand for the year. I was just living off that, paying all my bills and everything. So basically, we're using developing world income kind of thing. And so then when I'm like, oh, guess what? I have to pay 50 cents for a Bitcoin transaction. I started it not like that. Like where everyone else is like, just pay the fee, it works just fine. It's like, this hit me in 2016, not 2017. When 2017 started, I had no Bitcoin at the start of 2017 because I was already out. Because I had these like slim margins of like, okay, well, I can't afford to have a balance on my prepaid Wirex card because I didn't have the money. I had nothing. And then I got paid and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go buy coffee. And it took 6 hours for a confirmation. That affected me because I couldn't afford to have like, I have like a couple hundred on this card and I'll just reload it once in a while. It doesn't matter. And so at the ends of the fringes of the economy, that's where you start to see this kind of, these problems really hit people. And like a couple cents can start to be shitty. Of course, I'm not going to sound like a nano guy who's like, no fees, whatever. But yeah, we need to keep the focus on that end consumer. And honestly, I also hate to say it, but the developing world is not going to pay the bills for a crypto network in the short term. It's going to take a while. I mean, if one of my previous jobs, I was the paralegal for my uncle who was a bankruptcy attorney. And at some point he told me, he's like, look, I got in the wrong field of law because literally all my customers are bankrupt. And I'm like, good point. You didn't think that one through.
Target market. Yeah.
Yeah. So something to think about.
It all sounds really Halfinian to the idea of putting something on the base layer, like, a dollar denominated on whatever chain. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's rather unfortunate. I've become a layer one maxi at this point, so
yeah, I feel like you've evolved, man. You're like my best. You're not my reply guy, but you like all my stuff. And I was like, man, he's just turned a corner. Because were you Bitcoin only last year, right?
So my progress was I had like maybe 10 different protocols that I was on, right? And I was just reading the white paper.
True shitcoiner.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I had no idea what was going on. I'm trying to understand all these white papers, right? And it got to a point where I'm just like, look, I'm just too fucking stupid. I'm just gonna stick with one that, is widely accepted, and I just made my choice process of elimination. And then I just really started looking at it. I was like, okay, how do you move this forward? And I still remember paying, 1 sat per V-byte, which was great.
Back in the day, mate, those were the good days. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was working. And then it's just process of elimination on, L2s as well, and trying to come to conclusions on that. Like, I try to stay very open. And so after, like, 1 year was just strict Bitcoin because, again, it's like, dude, I'm running a business. I got a family to take care of. I got to take care of some other obligations outside of this. Like, I don't have time to really, like, dive into this stuff. So let me make my life simple. And then this year, traveling, going around the world and seeing what other people are doing, it's like more clarity and more info. I'm like, okay, so this is not working, and it works in some regards, and this one's not working in other regards, right? So just really bringing that home and making my own conclusions about what's working and what doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So like in Asia, I know Bitcoin Cash was one, especially in Japan. I actually met up with Mark Falzone while out there, just randomly.
Oh, it's not planned, huh?
No.
Shout out to Mark.
Crypto encounters.
Yeah, we were in Kyoto, and the missus and I were walking up to a shrine, and then he was walking out of a grocery store. I'm like, is that Mark? The fuck? So what's he doing out here?
Am I getting pranked? What?
Yeah, he's just out there walking about. So it was pretty cool. And there was a place in, I think it was Roppongi. They were Bitcoin Cash only, right? They're just like, oh, we don't want anything else. All right, so made the swap, paid, and like, why is anybody? To me, anyways, it's like it doesn't make sense. It's like I I consider myself a normie. You know, I'm just going to use what works.
Listen, dude.
You live on crypto. You're not a normie, dude.
Dude,
Well,
I am more of a normie than you are, my friend, for sure. You're like the top of the pyramid of like the hardcore shit, right? I'm like the next rung down, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, like when I came back to the States, I was looking at everything, you know, from all the traveling, all the interactions I've had with people, you know, why they like something, why they don't like something, why they prefer this coin, why they prefer that coin. And I'm like, okay, let's just broaden it up. Look, I've got a little bit of everything. It's funny because that's how my parents are right now too. They've got dollars in their pockets. My dad's got a silver dollar in his pocket still, just in case, you never know, right? You got some other currencies. You never know if somebody needs to send some money somewhere else. And it's like, dude, that's just the way the world works, right? It's like, yes, I prefer this one for whatever purpose, but the market or the person I'm transacting with wants something else, right? And money's supposed to solve that coincidence of wants. So,
yeah, the funny thing about money in that context is money is just a language for communicating value. And clearly the English language has dominated the planet, but the fact that the English language has dominated the planet does not mean that no other language has value. And there's something like I'm mostly monolingual. Like I used to be fluent in English, Spanish, and French, and basic in Arabic and German. And I just like let all that shit go because I have other things going on in life, and now I suck, you know. But like it was super refreshing, by the way, going to the Netherlands and just not having to learn a fucking word of Dutch. I just like, oh, this is fucking awesome. They probably speak English better than I do. But the point is, there are some things for anyone who speaks any other language. There are some things you cannot say the same way as you can in English, and there's value to be had in other forms of expression. And obviously, there's a lot of different English languages too. By the way, like there's jokes in the U.S. at least about different communities, about people like they might speak hood English at home, and then they speak like job interview, which is like at work. And there's like a bunch of different like dialects. There's obviously coding languages as well, like so many coding languages. Everyone loves Rust. Okay, but you can't do everything in Rust, can you? I don't know. I don't code in Rust. But
now you get the Rust maxis out.
Yeah, but the point is like, and people think in the US, for example, that the dollar is what everyone uses. And it's kind of, but like how many people use Starbucks points? How many people use punch cards?
Can't be that many. Come on. Like I take the point, but I don't know. What is there a secret Starbucks points economy that I'm not aware of? Like,
there is actually. There's like, so you know what's funny? There's this noodle place I go to called Hong Noodle Bar, and they keep on giving me gift cards for some reason. So I'm like a baller of Hong bucks, as I call it. And I have, for the longest time, wanted to make an NFT of like the Hong bucks gift card, like slowly rotating in 3D, and just sell it for like $100,000, and just like as a meme NFT, and just see if anyone buys it, and just like post random things like name drop, like maybe I get on CNN again, I talk about, well, you know, I use mostly Dash, but you know, Hong bucks is the best money in the world, and see if I get someone to buy.
Did you say CNN again?
I was so sure, in looking back 6 years, that there would be businesses issuing like rewards points as tokens at this point. I mean,
Starbucks
where I could go
is
trade
on Polygon.
Airline miles. What's that?
Starbucks is on Polygon.
Are they like a Starbucks dollar?
Well, it's Starbucks rewards points. I haven't actually used them, but I do know that the former president of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, has issued not one, not two, but 3 NFT collections on Polygon.
Right.
And
well, yeah, I guess like wouldn't it be cool though? You could trade like maybe it's timeshare points for airline miles, for credits at renting a car or getting your groceries or discounts or something. I don't know how that hasn't happened yet. I'm really surprised.
Grant, do you have a moment to hear about our Lord and Savior cash tokens?
Yeah, well, but here's the point. No, the point is it's been available. I mean, they could have all done this 6 years ago.
Well, that's the thing is, a lot of contractors around the world do request payment or whatever in Amazon credits.
Purse.io, right?
Well, that's dead.
Not anymore. It's shut down.
I know. I'm just joking.
But the point is, there's different things that people do transact with, and so that's one reason why. In fact, there's an actual money laundering concern with some of the more fungible gift cards, like Amazon, where some companies, if they get too much, for example, Monero traffic for gift cards, they get shut down because there's like, oh, look, people are using Monero to like launder shit for Amazon gift cards and stuff. Yeah, there are different points and monies and stuff. And this is one thing where I really think that once we finally get to where people use free money, use money, whatever money they want to, we're going to start to see multiple monies work in concert. And I think it'll be a lot easier to, for example, fund charitable causes, because you could pay people in like charity points for doing like charitable things. Whereas you don't have to actually, it's not like a good or service you pay real money. You pay them with charity money. But then some businesses will accept a certain amount of charity money as their way of like social consciousness. So it ends up being a real money in a certain extent. And I think we'll have a lot of, there will be some completely non-fungible tokens where you cannot buy admission to this nightclub or whatever. Like this is like literally, it's just this. Like this money, this whatever pass is not available for regular fungible money, and that'll be pretty interesting.
Like POAPs, right?
Yeah, POAP sounds like a medical condition, but Eleanor's big into those.
Hey, back off.
It's true.
Yes, I have issued my fair share of POAPs, but the problem with what you were saying, Grant, is that you get into the problem with all these companies using, referral links or, points and referrals. And then it's cool when they use crypto and blockchain to do it, but then they are obviously the centralized party. Like it's not groundbreaking. It's like, again, you fall into the centralized Oracle problem where Starbucks or whoever, or your airline company is the one giving those points. And
yeah, true.
I'm
not saying like in some sort of perfect decentralized system. I'm saying it's available to them, and users, I would think, would like the ability to monetize excess. If I got points for like a timeshare and I can't do it, instead of having to go on eBay and be like, here, I'm going to sell 3 days or whatever points it is, that you could just find a marketplace for them and they're buyable in.
Yeah, they're not interested
any
in
other
that.
crypto.
They don't want you to be able to trade they don't, like, of course, I don't know if there's certain places where I've already been reimbursed and the token of that company. So it's like kind of like you're being, what is it called?
You're captured in the ecosystem.
But you're captured, exactly. Your thing doesn't get delivered or whatever, and then you get a voucher, and it's like, But they're not
like NFTs of airline miles, where you could, you're guaranteed delivery of 100,000 airline miles. I'm just saying, like, a way of selling these and marketing these things, finding a customer.
Airline miles, by the way, are a fantastic example of a non-fungible sort of art. Well, not exactly non-fungible, but like an alternative currency that's worked for a long time. Airlines,
but they really don't want a secondary market of that. They really don't want you to start trading. That's the problem. They want you to stay. That's why it's your identity, your passport, that trip, and then we'll give you that. But they're not interested in, you starting to trade it and swap it and give it to your mom. And
yes, however, here's the thing I started to realize, because I'm so into the gift card market, because obviously I live in crypto, and it's a lot easier to get a provider to sell you gift cards than each individual mega store to accept crypto directly. So, random shout out to Jeremy's mug, by the way. I do like that. Anyway,
Charlie from resistcbdc.com. Check it out. He was on the Bitcoin Cash podcast.
No referral link, but please go. Anyway, so
gift cards.
One thing I realized is you can get a discount on gift cards to a certain extent, because companies would be happy to sell you a gift card and they do, by the way, at a discount. And it's like, well, are they just throwing away money? Well, I mean, as the old saying goes, a bird in the hand is worth two at the bush. So if you pre-sell $1 million in revenue, but you only charge $800,000 for it, you're still doing well, because you don't. Now if someone redeems those goods and services, it's like, all right, well, they sometimes don't actually redeem it. And so the thing about airline miles is, first of all, not everyone redeems all their airline miles. There's always this like balance of them going. But I think that as much as they'd like to keep that a closed loop ecosystem, a lot of airlines will start to issue them on fungible blockchains, where then there will be a secondary market for airline miles. But that's okay, because they can sell airline miles, for example, or reward them in something that doesn't cost them as much to acquire as actual money. So it's like, for example, if I have a business like a coffee shop, the proverbial coffee shop, it costs me a lot less to sell 10 lattes, to give someone free 10 lattes. That's a lot cheaper to me than to give someone $50, which at $5 a pop, that's what I charge, for example, because I have all the equipment for that right there. If I don't sell it, I just throw it out, right? I can't turn that over. So I'd much rather sell the ability to get lattes than to actually get the liquid capital to pay someone. And so these companies will be more than happy to sell to have a fungible, even though they might resist it in the beginning, to have a fungible marketplace for tokens associated with specific goods and services only. It's a lot cheaper for them to produce those than it is to produce general fungible money. And there will always be that, and then people can trade that. And then, so for example, if I know you like to go to a coffee place, a cocktail place, and something else, I can, for the same amount of money, get a discount buying tokens that are only usable at those places, because I know that it'll be very useful to you. And those companies are happy because they pre-sale. They got pre-sales out of all this. And it'll
and they're also profiting on the good when they do sell it. It's not like they're giving it for free.
Yeah.
So it's like a I was usually equation like a water tower, right? Like it's this flexible cash outlet that they can keep.
Yes.
And it's yeah, I mean,
also,
most points don't get redeemed.
Think about the pre-sale value, because there's an opportunity cost to money. Now, I know a lot of BTCers will be like, where does the yield come from? All this bullshit. Okay. So there's a time capital, and this is the underpinning of capitalism, by the way. Capital has value, not just labor. And so if I as a company sell out 6 months in advance because I sell all gift credit, and assuming there's 100% redemption rate, which never happens, but assume for a second, I would still offer that a discount because of all this extra capital I had ahead of time. I have more time with this capital to, using the crypto term, stake it and earn yield. But there's other business world analogies to what I could do with the time with that capital ahead of time. So because of that, a lot of companies would happily take a significant hit on the total amount of, like, the total bottom line, just to have it sooner and more securely, more surely than if they just said, we'll see what sales pan out like for the rest of the year.
Or not even staking to pay off debt that you're paying 8% interest on.
Yeah, exactly.
Take that cash and it's instant return, right?
Yeah,
all right.
And your lender.
I gotta jump in here. I gotta bounce actually, but okay. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everyone.
Merry Cashmas.
It's late for you, isn't it?
We're taking that tomorrow.
That is how it is for me. Get involved in some of that action, and see you on the Twitter threads. Ciao.
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy, I put a thread real quick. I posted something. One of my buddies is a B casher since before
Filthy B casher.
The split, and his two daughters qualified for nationals in curling. I'm a curler. He's a curler.
Okay.
All right.
I posted. I tagged you in it. I'm trying to raise some money for them. They got to fly out and get jerseys. And on their jersey and on their brooms is a Bitcoin Cash.
On the brooms, let's go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he got custom pads made and custom jerseys with Bitcoin Cash on it.
Hell yeah.
Whatever your followers can throw at them.
All right.
So we had cash tokens. Now we have cash brooms.
Cash brooms.
There you go.
We're innovating. 2024. We're getting there. The CBDCs are coming, but we got brooms, so we're gonna stand no chance.
All right. Good seeing you.
All right.
Cheers, bud. Merry Christmas.
I'm going to say something on the loyalty points real quick, too, because you can limit the amount that a secondary market could occur based on covenants that those tokens can be issued to. So if you encumber all of those tokens, like the airline mile tokens, onto a covenant, and then it's only allowed to be spent in like, American Airlines whitelisted addresses that are connected to their systems that use those tokens in specific ways, then it would limit the amount that you'd be able to trade those on, say, like a DEX.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just hoping an airline you would think would, again, try to front run the other ones. Like, if
Spirit
it's something the
Airlines,
customers
yeah.
want, if it's something the
There's
customers
a
want.
reason no one has done it so far. It's probably not worth their time or effort or research and development.
Maybe it's just they didn't have a blockchain.
Yeah, I would say
Or
the
that.
reason that it hasn't happened yet is because the technology hasn't really been there in a robust enough way for it to happen. Because I mean, just look at using the base case of money. We haven't actually found consensus on the blockchain that does that best. I would say among us, we kind of know what those options are, like Litecoin and BCH being among them. But then, with cash tokens and all that, now we can actually issue these tokens cheaply. We can use them cheaply, and they actually are based on an L1 crypto primitive. We didn't really have that before. With Ethereum, we're all still focused on the L2 scaling and rollups and all of that, and there's not a unified ecosystem for tokens. So if I issue an airline token on Polygon, does that mean that I'm going to be able to use it on base layer Ethereum? Does that mean I'm going to be able to use it on Tron, et cetera, et cetera? It's the USDT problem all over again.
Yeah, that's going to have to be something that gets solved. My next.
I still wanted to. Sorry, back on the airline thing. There was an example that I used to use in 2017 to explain smart contracts, and I still haven't experienced it. But if your airline is late, I wish that we had like sort of a smart contract insurance. And if playing later than X amount of time, and all these oracles would say, yeah, your plane, your train, your whatever was delayed.
So we need Chainlink, is what you're saying.
Basically.
And the admin keys.
Or connected to your airlines. And then you'd be just reimbursed immediately instead of having to go through, But
Yeah.
that's
Airlines also a tough example because it's like one of the few industries that's essentially run by government, right, and heavily protected by government. But
I wouldn't say few.
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess so. But I also think like when we look at the tokenization of these departments, like if you say somebody is managing and issuing these points, and there's like a whole, like there's these databases that are built, right? Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, that you can operate these, or Ethereum, without having to do any of the work yourself inside the business. It can just be issued and validated all on a blockchain. I mean, maybe it just hasn't happened because I just don't think people are comfortable with it yet. Joel's talked a lot about Thorchain. I was going in Thorchain, seeing how you can borrow money against your crypto.
Yeah.
And to me, that is a mind-blowing thing, to just remove banks from the situation, remove validation.
This is why I became
welcome to DeFi.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, it's when you realize, once the real world sees that and they go, wow, I don't have to pay a fee to a banker, I don't have to wait for an approval period, I just get my money. Like,
yeah, because that's the thing about, like,
mind-blowing.
I love digital cash, obviously. We're on the digital cash network and everything. But
What?
but the funny thing is, I've been this person, obviously, with my journey, but also I've known lots of people who have been like cash economy people. They just, all the money they have is just that wad of cash that they have, and it's a free existence maybe, but it's an inferior existence to people who have finance. They actually have financial services. They have like yield here, savings there, loans there, like all that kind of stuff. And without being plugged into the financial system, it's a really tough time. And so the thing about DeFi, and again, there's levels of hardcore type thing. It's like the fish and the bigger fish. The top of the pyramid is my buddy, who remained unnamed, but he does not have a birth certificate. He doesn't exist. He just never had one, and he's living as unbanked as you can, because who are they going to get the bank to? Someone who doesn't exist. So he is huge into Thorchain and the Maya protocol these days, because finally he gets to invest. He gets to like get yield off of this. He gets to get a loan out of that. He gets to do all this kind of other financial stuff that lets you not be broke all the time, lets you actually get ahead in life. But he doesn't, it's without being like, well, who are you and what's your credit score and all this kind of stuff. And that's pretty magical.
And going back to our first comments from earlier in the podcast, where I was like, the last bull market around DeFi did not bother me, because I understood the capture and the value that was being created, and the billions that were poured into it, and just the opportunity for a lot of people to have access to DeFi, and that made sense. But this one doesn't feel comfortable because all of that value is just not being created, I think. But sorry for interrupting you.
Except, I will say, watch Thorchain's like the top 3 DEX in the world right now. Like, it came from nowhere, from second page of CoinMarketCap, which is like the shitcoin zone, right? No one cares about those coins. Went all the way to being one of the dominant Bitcoin trading pairs, much less anything else in the world. And it's just growing and growing and growing because this is like the realest thing. And I have to say, from my perspective on DeFi, when DeFi came out kind of, and it was like an Ethereum thing, I didn't care because like I don't want like sushi tokens that yield leverage this. I don't care. I'm not a DJ.
You don't need the platform token. We never cared about the platform token, but you could.
The point is, it didn't seem real to me because it was like a siloed ecosystem. It's like ETH and all its tokens, and I was already too poor to use ETH, and then all the other tokens, like I don't care. But then when
you could wrap Dash,
yeah, you could have. In fact, there was ST like Stakehound did wrap Dash, and
really,
and then they had an exploit and got hacked and lost everything and went bankrupt because it was a centralized thingy, whatever. So
I mean,
the point is,
the joke is that there's more wrapped Bitcoin on DeFi or ETH than on Lightning.
Well, yeah, but listen, let's not kick Lightning. It's already dead.
We've already done that. We've already done that earlier.
But the point is, when it came to Thorchain, it became for me real assets. As in, I can earn yield on Bitcoin Cash. I can swap my Litecoin for whatever, for Dogecoin, and I can do this. And like, this is like, I got why it was important. I didn't understand it as much when it was siloed DeFi. And so now that you have that, and now you have the Maya protocol, and now you have Chainflip, which is a third fork, or it's not exactly a fork, it's a little different in the way it's constructed. But now you have all these cross-chain DeFi, like actual native cross-chain DeFi protocols cropping up. And then Sarai Dex is supposedly the end of next year will be out, which will have a Monero trading pair. So you can just get Monero into the whole ecosystem and stuff. And so we're coming up on this glorious, awesome age of DeFi. We just have to decentralize the front ends, stay out of U.S. jurisdictions, all of the above. Which is one thing I like about the Maya protocol is that it's the team is entirely, as far as I know, there's someone that one of the team members is in the Netherlands, but the rest, as far as I know, are all Mexican. So they're outside of the purview of the SEC for now, and also completely anon and stuff. So
the only thing I'll say is thank you to that random bar during COVID lockdown where we couldn't go out, couldn't be in bars without QR codes and stuff, who let us in, closed shop so that we could have a Thorchain meetup.
That's the shit right there.
That's my little flashback.
It almost feels like Thor too is, like you said, it's funny, their quality control is better than Coinbase or Binance in the sense that they're like you're saying, it's not their intention isn't to be like, I just want as much shit on here as possible to drive traffic.
They did. Listen, this is where I'm going to talk shit about Thorchain, right?
Wait, it's not anyone can list their coins on Thorchain?
So, listen, let me...
I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong.
Sorry, I'm asking.
That's a long... So, here's the thing. Thorchain is a decentralized protocol.
But...
that it's a Cosmos-based, so they have like 100 nodes or whatever, 100 of those big nodes of like... And they rotate in, like, so of like the top staked nodes, it's like they rotate them in and out. So it's not all the potential nodes that are there at any one time validating stuff. But the point is, nodes are free to adopt whatever version of the code, has whatever else. If they don't like what the devs do, they don't do it. That being said, so the team behind building Thorchain in the early days and in charge of the Twitter account and stuff like that did talk a big game about like, we're going to list Dash, we're going to list Zcash, Monero sound makes sense, we're going to do like they talked a bunch of stuff, and then about a year in they started to like get all wishy-washy, and then they introduced a node voting mechanism where the nodes could vote on the next chain, and then the nodes voted a certain way and says, sorry, I know we promised and got a lot of hype from you guys, but the nodes voted and they don't want you, so sorry. They did that with so there's a lot of coins that get burned because of that. And then they added Dogecoin, which was a little bit of a disappointment in terms of volume and things like that. But then they added Luna because that was the big thing. And then Luna just got like fucking wrecked. So they haven't been perfect in those. Since Luna, I don't think they've done anything except for maybe Binance Smart Chain, because they had the regular BNB chain, and then they added a Binance Smart Chain, and I don't think that's worked out super well for them. It's been buggy, and the Binance community has not been in on it, like providing liquidity, all this kind of stuff. So the Maya protocol actually know those people, and I think they have a much better relationship with things as far as like the founding team, as far as which ones get added. But like, yeah, as far as which ones get added, it's like any open source project, whatever's in the code. But the reality of things is, who are the main people who write those codes and things like that, and then the nodes will probably adopt whatever they do. It's kind of like the Bitcoin Core team sort of corollary, where Bitcoin's a fully structurally decentralized project, but if Bitcoin Core, the core team, puts in their repository some code change, the likelihood is most nodes and miners at least will just adopt it without even thinking twice for the most part. So that's one of those, like, you know, practical versus structural decentralization type things. So yeah, Thorchain's great, but I do have some issues in the past that, you know, nothing's perfect, right?
No, not at all. That's fine.
Yes, that is fine though. I'm very
Yeah.
optimistic as far as where we are, where we can go. I'm not optimistic on every coin, of course.
Yeah. Trying to take that optimism, man. Get the white pill going a little bit more.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you're newer than some people, but also you went Bitcoin first, and I had my Bitcoin doom and gloom moments in 2016. And it's kind of like you're experiencing it a little bit more recently. And then the problem is, and I guess it's a lot easier to be like a Bitcoin casher or something like that, because you just like, well, that Bitcoin sucks, I just do this one. It's an easier mental shift, I guess. Whereas where I'm at kind of is Bitcoin sucks, ETH sucks, a bunch of stuff is good, just fucking keep paying attention and using what works for the foreseeable future. It's not a very satisfying mental answer. Is like, just use what works, keep an eye out. If this one starts to go to shit, switch and use something else. And it's hard to sell to normies too, by the way.
Really hard.
Really hard. They just want Bitcoin.
I didn't really ever get burned by Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, since I was kind of a latecomer, I actually came to BCH by way of ETH Classic.
The real ETH. The real ETH.
ETH Classic is the real Ethereum.
ETH 1.0.
Oh, sorry.
I mean,
That was something for the real Bitcoin, right? The real ETH. Such a dork. Someone should put me out.
So, I mean, I'm saying,
You made Joel leave.
I know, I'm sorry.
Joel's like, I'm out of here.
It's a joke. This is why not everybody should manage their own portfolio.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I see.
No,
Sorry.
I was saying, like, in terms of like things that works, right? I mean, just like Joel was just saying, okay, well, if BTC sucks and if ETH sucks, it kind of for similar reasons, just a scalability thing, right? IPs. Well, what does work? Obviously, like I said, BCH works, LBC works. I mean, Nano works, I guess. Monero works. But what else actually does? Not really a whole lot of other coins. For me, the decision is easy to use BCH because, I mean, all the game theory of Bitcoin, as people understand it, still applies. Just obviously, there's just the block size issue.
I want to say
same
something
thing with Litecoin, all that
controversial.
game theory kind of still applies the same way. And then
Really? Something
there's gonna be high demand
controversial
for
on this
Monero.
show?
I don't know enough about Zcash to really comment on that, so I'm just going to stick it to Monero. But privacy, everyone's going to love that. You know, UTXO model, everyone loves that. So to me, the decision is easy, right? Like, it's not, well, there's all these options. It's like, oh, well, there's Bitcoin, and we already know that Bitcoin works. We just need to make sure we scale it.
Yeah, basically. I will say, though, like, trying to onboard a lot of the, maybe because I'm in Hell's waiting room, right? That's kind of home base. There's still a lot of cash-based businesses. Right? And yesterday we had a little meetup, for lunch, and they've had their establishment since 1951, and only cash. They've never adopted, a card POS system or anything like that. They're really hardcore. and just asking, you know, a lady who's been there for like the last 50 years, like, so why cash only? Why haven't you gone to anything else? She's like, well, you know, it's a family owned business. The owner's 66 who's running the bar right now, and he just can't even bother with a calculator right now. He just counts everything out by hand, does it in a notebook, and he's done. And he's like, as long as it works, that's it.
That's POB, right? Proof of boomer.
That's like the generation before boomers, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically the reason my landlord told me that he won't accept BCH. I told him what I do for work, and he's like, oh, well, I don't even use PayPal or anything like that. So just you go ahead and keep writing me that paper check. The only thing I use paper checks for anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was one of the big things for onboarding that I've known from the start, but I never knew how to really articulate or get to that understanding. It's like, it's got to be just super fucking simple, right? Like, they don't care about UTXO model. They don't care about, you know, dev this, culture that. It's, hey, does this thing work and is it cheap, right?
Yeah, and that's why this is the perfect segue. And I'm not going to stay very long, but I went to Solana Breakpoint in Amsterdam recently.
God. Here we go.
This is the controversial take.
I have clenched my asshole in anticipation.
So I was also like
Where
very
did
like,
Joel?
I'm also very like, oh, I'm going, but I'm just here to observe. I'm just curious, and I'm also very skeptic. And I went to Justin Bond's school of hating Solana for months. So for me, it was like, you know, red flag, and I'm here, but I'm prepared. You know.
Yeah. So what happened when he sold out before you did? Was that a tense moment?
He's so Jesus. We had massive debates. I was like, come on, you can tell me if someone's paying you, right? I've been trolling him ever since. But
Yeah.
no, for him, it's like really sincere. And he's like, no, they changed and whatever. They changed stuff and now they're better and whatever. And for me, I'm still on the... But it's super interesting. Okay, what I wanted to say...
To his credit, he's a
is
very
that-
logical person who thinks through things very linearly,
Yeah.
you know?
And the only thing that it sort of made me like a flashback of is that I was on the bus and I was talking to all these founders of Solana products or whatever. And this guy's like, hey, let me like just send you some. And I was like, he's like, just download this wallet. It's super simple. And then
Are you sure you weren't at NanoCon 2024?
No. And
Which,
and
by
like,
the
you'll
way,
see it's
shout out to
super
Mira
cheap.
Hurley, who's watching this
Yeah,
podcast.
I saw
and
she commented on Twitter as well. And she's
yes,
like, oh,
and Mira's
you said
always been
Nano.
very reasonable and intelligent person talking about Nano online. So shout out to Mira. Anyway, continue.
I think I know what she's about to say, but go ahead.
You think? Because what it reminded me of is me in 2017, 2018, giving BCH to people. And I felt surrounded by big blockers. Like the whole narrative was adoption and users and cheap fees, and it just has to fucking work. And okay, there's certain things that are not all perfect, but we just want adoption. And because I've been organizing ETHDAM, and I'm more, I would say, for better or worse, all this year I've been going to ETH conferences, and that narrative is rare. It's rare to find people suddenly that are like, oh yeah, ultrasound money. And those people are like a teeny tiny fraction of the people. Most of them are like, no, ETH settlement layer, layer 2 is everything. And they don't really talk about money and changing fiat. And, so I miss that from my BCH days. And then going to the Solana conference, suddenly all these people were like talking about how I used to promote crypto basically years ago. And it was just, that was my moment of being a bit more humbled and just like coming down my high horse. And
to quote a great friend of ours, Bitcoin, we used to work this way, and then the fees got high when Blockstream came in and they paid all the devs, and then Bitcoin Cash is still the Bitcoin that works just like Cash, just like in the old days. So anyway,
is that Roger?
Yes, it's like we are all Roger Ver in the end, right?
Yes, we are. We all do.
I thought you were going to say that it's like it's kind of a cringe thing, because I feel like onboarding people by just saying, hey, download this app and I'll send you some money that's going to be meaningless to you and just numbers on a page. You know what I mean? I always feel like that's not communicating anything. It's not.
I
It
have
doesn't
to
ultimately
say
I don't
accomplish.
know.
that is
I don't mean
the
I'm not to insult your thing, but
that
I'm
is
I don't
always
like
like,
doing
I
that.
know it's cringe, but it's like, no. That's how I used to close all my crypto 101s online. Download a wallet. I did it even recently. Download a wallet. Here's Edge, and I'm gonna give you some BCH. I still
Oh,
give
okay.
out
Well, I'm
BCH
saying
to
you
people.
educated them first, but like the worst
Yes,
thing is
but
just
here we're like among
say,
crypto
here.
people. No,
Yeah.
here was just among
No
crypto people.
context. Hey, kid, you want some
No, no,
crypto?
no, 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 no. No,
Yeah.
I
Hey, come
usually
here.
it's
Let me show you something.
no. Usually it's the last step at the
You
end
want
of the
some
workshop,
stem
right?
cells? Come on, kid.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense. I hear what you're saying. And use it.
in
Like I
this,
think that because there's
yeah,
who's it, Clint Westwood and Lisa and the Litecoiners. They would do these crypto road shows and they'd go around and they'd get sponsors and they'd have everybody download and they'd send the money around in a circle, like get used to sending and receiving. And that is
I
how
mean,
you have to do it. Yeah.
you have
So,
because
I
a
mean,
lot of people, yeah, when you're teaching, this is the aha moment, It really is. It's like, oh my God, this is the first bits of crypto and of digital money that some people will get. And of course, yeah, then you have to tell them to go back and research more and figure out stuff and everything. But that's all I want to say. That because Kallisti, you were saying like, what now? Because you're right, Joel.
oh yeah, no,
yeah,
If not
no,
Bitcoin, if not ETH,
absolutely. But here's
if
the
we
thing.
nothing,
can't talk about this specific
That's
topic without me pointing at this and asking how many of you know what this logo is already? Because I know Joel does.
which
I
logo?
don't.
Crescent moon with
This is on my hat.
Well, it's a
Bitcoin
moon.
Cash
And
Cash.
on my shirt
It's
here.
for his wallet.
This is the Celine wallet logo. So
Oh,
now
yeah,
I'm curious
I've
how
heard,
many
yeah.
people have tried Celine wallet yet? Because this is literally what I do now is go around and be like, hey, kid, you want some crypto? Download this wallet. Let me send you some.
Well, take the
So,
sunglasses off when you do it because that's still look real shit. Come here. I want to get some.
Sunglasses
I
off,
think-
clothes
I'm gonna
on.
go-
Bring
Here, I'm gonna-
back that cypherpunk type of vibes. Like, hey, come here, kid.
Here, I'm gonna download Celine wallet right now.
Yeah, and so
if you
this
put
was
your QR code up on the screen,
this is
I'll
literally
pass
the
it.
onboarding tool of the early days, right? Of hey, look, and honestly, that's what got me right. I heard about Bitcoin because I was trying to live off. I was a gold maxi back in the day. I was trying to live on gold, which is this is how much of an idiot I am that I'm like trying to live on gold and shit. Where
Hey! You're. I'm with you there.
yeah, but I'm just saying like I'm the only dummy who is like, how can I live on gold today? And not just like talking about the gold standard or hoarding some bullion in my basement. Like, so I was trying to get Peter Schiff's money at that bank with like, oh, you can have a gold debit card. Oh, and I was trying for that. And then I heard about Bitcoin and was like, all right, it seems like digital gold type thingy. And then it wasn't until I got reimbursed for the pizza in Chicago by someone sending me Bitcoin. And then later I just like having that, it's just so easy. Scan QR code, send. That's what made me get it. And there's no knocking that as far as like it works, like get it. However, now we're in 2023 for a few more days, right? We're past where that's enough, I think, because guess what? Not only do nano people, in this case, it's not a shit talk. No, nano people do look so fast and easy, whatever. But people are using Wallet of Satoshi to do this too. They're like, look, download this. Oh my gosh, blah. And like,
I mean, look, Cash App does this, right?
yeah,
They don't
But
even need crypto.
but you do need KYC for Cash App, right?
Yeah.
No, I've never given my ID to Cash App. I've been using them
Interesting.
since like 2015.
And you never have to do your ID at all.
No, I mean, I only do petty transfers over Cash App, to be fair. But...
Interesting.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, just kidding. Now I'm thinking about it though. Like, I do have my bank account link, so I guess that counts anyway.
Maybe that is. I don't know. Maybe it's
Yeah.
like a soft KYC.
You got up to the point of trying to use the gold card, right?
Yeah.
didn't
I
get that
haven't
far.
tried using the card. I have friends who have, but like I've never needed to.
Yeah. That was like
Because
2011.
whenever I use Cash App, I just get the money and I just dump it into my bank account and then just use my regular bank account.
Yeah.
See, that's how you do it, man.
Yeah, so the point is though, look, I can send you a little thing. And like send receive is like the very basic function of every crypto out there. Now you gotta do something more. Like for example, you gotta be able to then use that as money to buy a good or service immediately. Like, oh look, let's go to a coffee shop, let's buy like a Starbucks gift card and then scan it right there. Oh, it feels real now. And then let's build this thing. The other thing though is like, which I think that is going to be the next step, is when you start showing people their stuff across wallets, because import your seed phrase and it works in a completely different wallet by a completely different company is kind of magic. And seed phrases are clunky, yes, the magic words are, but it is a big part of showing why this isn't just, oh look, a company lets you sign up. Sure, it's just like, guess what, I got my thing here, I put it in here, all the money that I put in here is just now in there for some reason. And they're like, oh, it's not just this app, it's in something else. And so as long as you have those magic words, you have your money. And it's like, oh, I get it. And then using like Doorchain or whatever else and like plugging into like a million different interfaces to swap. And then, oh, look, I think that that's a good education thing too. But eventually, the next thing that I like to do is show people on a block explorer. I love showing, because then it's just like, oh, look, I put this transaction here. There's a third of verifiable party source of things saying these funds went to here. But then that's when you start to privacy pill people, where you're like, oh, look, yeah, everyone can see this. And then you're like, guess what? Look, here's a shielded Zcash transaction, for example. You can't see anything here. And it's like, oh, well, here's a coin join. Which of these things did it come from? I don't know. Oh, okay.
I'm just waiting for somebody to be like, hey, can I pay you in this? Yeah, sure. That's just one I'm waiting for, man. It's trying to onboard. I mean, it's when people want it, right? Or there's a certain level of desire, it makes it a lot easier. But if someone just doesn't care, they just want what they want. That's such an uphill, stone to push.
But
that's been my issue for like the last couple months, still trying to onboard folks, right? Like businesses, etc., to try to accept any crypto, period. And there's just I don't know. It's like, it's super easy. It'll take literally 5 minutes, and there's just, what is it? I guess the kinetic energy just doesn't want to, it hasn't moved, and it's not going to move until something else really knocks it out.
Yeah.
I mean, you need demand drivers. We were talking about that earlier, right?
Yeah, that's
I
exactly.
think we need killer products.
That's not exactly the thing. So people bitch about gift cards and like third parties and stuff like that. And like, okay, fine. But what we realize is BitRefill, for example, needs customers, but like you can just onboard people and you don't have to onboard all their freaking merchants in their local area. You can just use this. And so, because like in fact, I'll ask Lorenzo if he comes on. There was a group that onboarded thousands, with a plural, many thousands of merchants in Venezuela to accept Dash for payments. And there's so much video, photographic evidence, everything out there of this happening. And the problem is then it's like, okay, you have all these merchants. You say, hey, guess what? Use this. Your currency's going to shit. Let's use this other one. And they're like, oh, great. But then where do the customers come from? And then over time, it's like, okay, economic collapse. Half those businesses go away. Oh, the manager changes. He's the one with the wallet. This one doesn't. And you need that constant influx of users. I think it's a lot easier to get a digital cash user than it is a business, because you get like one like BitRefill or something can service thousands and thousands of people living on crypto. And then once you have this army of people trying to live on crypto, then they're like, hey, coffee shop, can I do it? And then they're like, it's funny. The Maison Navarre in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which I go to, which takes crypto and has
shout out.
Yes.
Best
yes.
food, best croissant, best macaron.
Yes, absolutely. She's correct.
For the US.
So they've taken crypto for at least 4 or 5 years or so. And they were in when CNN flew the crew out to film me living on crypto, it was filming there at their bar and stuff and all that stuff. So it's so much that they say 95%, 90% or more of all their crypto sales are in Dash now. And the reason for that is because it's me and that unbanked no birth certificate guy. And we go there all the time, and that's 90%. There's like every once in a while there's another person that comes in. But that's the sad reality, is this is like crypto, like this is like ground zero for this stuff. And if you don't, there's a whole bunch of people in New Hampshire that have crypto and use it for peer-to-peer things and all this kind of stuff. But like as far as the mom and pop business is going to be one of the last to get like onboarded. Even then, I've like, oh, guess what? The iPad that they use for that is like playing Spotify up in the wine bar. We got to go get it to now then pay and stuff. It's like there's always some little things. So like the early, I would say like the early Bcasher kind of thing of like, let's fill up the merchant maps. It's like, it feels good. It really feels good. You got to fill up the merchant traffic. And the more people you can get, that's the real sales. As far as like before, people were going to like selling merchants. Oh, you got to take it. But we got to sell people because if you sell, hey,
you need both.
Yes.
Right? You need to do both at the same time. You can't just be one or the other. And
Yes.
I think the other part too,
100 individuals for one merchant.
right? I think the other part too is that, because there's a lot of like, hey, use this coin, it's better. Use that coin, it's better. Merchants gonna be like, dude, I don't know what the fuck to use, right?
Yeah.
So it's being able to say, well, if there's going to be a free market of money, then the merchant, at least from my point of view, because I mean, I'll get paid in anything. I'll take it. If I want to swap to something else, I'll do it. If not, whatever.
Well, not anything. You're not going to take.
It's just one of those.
I just bought a shitcoin called Cock Inu. You're going to take Cock Inu, are you?
I mean, if
it has Inu, if coin has dog, me no interested. I'm not into
right. I mean,
well, I'm saying this, like, if from my perspective, right, like when a client's trying to pay me in another token, my first question is, well, where can I use it? Can I spend it? Right. And if I can't spend it, can I swap it? But going to the cash, restaurant and, hey, can I pay you in Litecoin? Can I pay you in Bitcoin Cash? Can I pay you in Dash? What the fuck is that? What can I use that for? And it's like, why are there so many, And it's being able to educate the merchant to say, hey, look, you can take all kinds of tokens and coins or whatever, and you can use it. And then, enticing everybody to go and actually use their coin.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that I've met. They're like, yep. I've only met like 2 Dogecoin maxis this year.
Somehow.
Which, yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm not ridiculous, but it's really odd and interesting. I've met some Litecoiners and Bcashers, a couple of Dash people and Monero, et cetera, et cetera. The only ones that seemed to really use it were the Monero guys, but it was always for something outside of normal shopping.
Yeah, it was for buying a kid on the Silk Road.
Yeah. And everybody else in all camps were just like, hey, this is great. All right, do you use it? Have you tried to transact with it? Have you paid for a good or service? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I'm saving it, at least in the circles that I frequent. It's like, I'm just saving it, it's either going to be for one day when it all collapses, right? Mm-hmm. This is the coin of choice that's going to survive. Kind of like the gold and silver bugs. It's, only gold and silver will ever be money. We're just waiting for the collapse. And then the other ones are the number go up, right? Like Solana is going to be the next coin. So I'm just putting my bags in there and, okay, but are you using it to make products or goods? Or, I mean, what are you doing? There's a lot of talking, not a lot of walking.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of why I become like, I wouldn't say a digital cash maxi, because even then I like these cross-chain DeFi, which is not exactly digital cash, but whatever. I become focused on digital cash because it's like if someone has like a big stash of Dash and just goes back, uses their bank for all everyday transactions, they're not like that does fuck all. Like that's not, I don't care. Like I care about people using freedom tools to be free, using freedom tools at least. And so if people are anything users, that's like a great start. And the thing is, like, when you're talking about the merchant who like, oh, what are all these things? Well, can we at least have like a basket of ones that then if you have a payment processor that accepts like a half dozen, then at least that increases their chance to without having to juggle 8 or 12 coins, like at least like 5 or 6. Can we at least get it to where they're probably going to get a crypto person every week spending something? And then if it's your favorite coin, great. If not, just like you still have the utility. And that's something that I always argue with like some of the more old school Bitcoin Cash people. They just want that Bitcoin Cash only sticker, and they just want it like, okay, but like you're gonna lose your ability to spend Bitcoin Cash at this merchant if you don't maybe open it up to a couple other coins, so that then it keeps them fresh. Unless, of course, if you're in like Townsville, Australia or something, and you got like a big hardcore group of people spending it, or you're in St. Kitts or whatever, maybe that doesn't apply. Sure, they can survive off of like just one coin's fans, but usually it might be a few different ones. I'd rather have like, I don't think Maison Navarre would still be here taking crypto if I said you just only got to use Dash, dude. Like I think
wouldn't it be? I mean, again, Bitcoin Cash's whole plan is to never have any fees, but imagine being someone who insists on Bitcoin only, and all of a sudden, like, now my only option is to pay the fees. Like they say, there's a reality where Litecoin does fill up with ordinals, and it's all of a sudden $2, $3, $4 to send money. I might go, I kind of would like an option to maybe use another money. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to sit here and just stick with one coin because, like, I don't know, delusional loyalty to it. If it's not making sense for the transaction I'm trying to do, I'd gladly, that's what I find interesting about Nano. I don't know enough about Nano, but I've had them send some stuff here and there. I'm like, hey man, it's fucking fast. It's cheap. I can't argue with that. Same thing with Bitcoin Cash, right? So why would I want to limit my options for no reason?
Yeah. It's a freedom tool. And does it work for your freedom? If not, then is garbage. Does it work for your freedom? Then use it. Congratulations.
Yeah, and that's the part where I think that part, do you care about your personal freedom? And I don't even think many people are aware of that. Mm-hmm. There's an idea that they're free, but the moment you start looking into the weeds, you realize actually I'm not as free as I thought. That matrix is very, very real. And
what do you think about this? Like I'm gonna give you an unpopular opinion. I got to go too, so I'll go on Eleanor's her mindset here. That you talk about a basket of monies that people can use and know they can redeem easily. Something like PayPal or Venmo, probably that decent first step for a merchant to say, here, you can accept. I get to spend my Litecoin. You can receive it, and you can convert it to whatever you want the second you have it. And
Absolutely.
Now it's totally, I know it's against the principles, but it's the baby steps, right? And like
good.
Everybody's first step is just awareness of it, or seeing somebody spend it, or maybe asking those questions. And
I mean, as long as
they need it in a sheltered environment,
like as long as it's really the crypto, as long as it's not like, well, I'll have to bridge to this custodial. So, for example, I did test out with Cash App. I don't have Cash App, but one of our mutual friends who spoke at ETHDAM as well, had it. And we were out, and I was paying him back for some drinks. And I was like, I got some Bitcoin and Lightning because I had to put it in there because the one, this is Phoenix Wallet, so self-custodial kind of. And this was because the one Indonesian restaurant in Amsterdam that took Bitcoin for like many, many years was BTC only. And so I had to have some. So because of that, I had some. And so I could send from my Phoenix wallet directly to my buddy's Cash App, Lightning, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, that's a minimum qualifier. I don't care if the merchant has a custodial, whatever the hell, as long as I can send from my real stuff to their wallet, and then they do whatever they want with it. So
that's one. I've had that convo with a few people, at the meetups, where it's like, dude, if I send a merchant whatever coin, it's their property now, and they can do whatever they want. Because then there's the other ones like, well, I'm only going to give it if they're going to use it appropriately and hold. It's like, dude, who are you to say? Right?
Are you transitioning into covenants now? Is that what this is?
I used to love to recommend BitPay actually to merchants, because then they could convert it. I know, and it got so bad.
They got so bad.
It got so bad. I even used to use them for my invoicing. And then I remember,
doesn't work anymore, or what?
No, the KYC levels.
Oh yeah.
And it's because at first it was just like you that had to KYC if you used them, and then you could invoice people, but now they want both sides of the invoice to be
Mhm.
KYC'd and not just a little bit. And it got really bad,
No,
sadly.
all
But
those
that was a
people are
great
using
product.
Litecoin now, so
But
But
to,
that
that's
was,
a
I think,
feather in
a
our
great
cap
product.
lately. Is that Litecoin's taken over BitPay, which is been
Interesting.
yeah,
shocking.
so that means that most Litecoin users, I guess, might be US based or something because
Maybe,
BitPay.
interesting.
Here's the thing:
Yeah,
BitPay is the
Europe
way it is
and Europe and US, yeah.
because BitPay. Do you remember coin payments? The OG of all crypto. I used to call them shitcoin payments because they'd let you
Yeah,
pay
but
in
they still process like 90% of all gambling, right? Or something
something like that. They're huge, but they
Huge.
moved out of the US a couple of years ago because of money service businesses regulations.
And
Because
they
they're
told me that BitPay had crazy slippage.
it's probably true too. The thing is, BitPay is a bit licensed through New York company,
Mm.
and so they have they paid for their freedom. No, they paid off the thugs so they can operate, and
Right.
everyone else is a custodial payment processor, right? Because the only way a crypto payment processor can make money is if they take custody of the customer's funds and give you most of it back. You know, give the business everything except for a little fee, right?
Yeah.
Now, there is a payment protocol, BIP70 or BIP270, whatever, that lets you scan a QR code and split the payment so the merchant gets most of it and the point of sale provider gets some of it, which would allow you to legally operate without having to do KYC like BitPay does. But first of all, Bitcoin Core deprecated that from their wallets because they're like, oh, it sucks. Bitcoin Cash people are big into this protocol. I'm sure Celine uses that, right? You can scan those invoices. I'm assuming.
Hopefully.
But anyway, that's what the AnyPay protocol. I love the AnyPay point of sale system. Which
Yeah.
is what Maison Navarre does because they produce one QR code and whatever crypto you have, you
That's
can scan
amazing.
that QR code and then you just beep and
That's smart.
It's a web
Yeah.
POS, right? There's no device.
yeah. There's no device.
Also smart.
Yeah, that's
They
perfect.
stopped developing it, right? They stopped maintaining it or something?
Let me tell you the AnyPay story because it's annoying and funny and stuff. So, anyone here know who Derek J. Freeman is? Anyone hear about Derek J?
No.
You know. So Derek J was a libertarian activist who released a documentary called Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. And he moved to Keene, New Hampshire, and was part of the Free Talk Live group and all that, as in the people who onboarded Roger Ver to Bitcoin back in the day. So super OG. At some point, he and his partner Steven, and Steven used to be one of Ripple's developers in the very early days, like pre-2017 days.
Really?
And he got his entire salary in Ripple, so it did very well compared to that. So they just decided to become Bitcoin maxis in like 2016. I mean, Bitcoin was all there was like before 2013, 14, that kind of era. So they became kind of big Bitcoin people in 2016 and 17. And they're the ones who onboarded Maison Navarre and all these other places in Portsmouth where they used to live. And they were just like, oh, it doesn't matter if you have to pay 50 cents or $1 to send your Bitcoin. It's fine for a while. And then when things got more expensive, then they started to be like, eesh. So BitPay was doing weird KYC nonsense or whatever. So they literally built AnyPay as modeled after old school BitPay. They literally almost copy pasted it, just like, look, this will still let us pay Bitcoin at our local restaurants. And then they added some other coins. They added Litecoin Dash, Dogecoin, and then they added Bitcoin Cash. And then they started preferring Bitcoin Cash. But then they became big BSV people. I think still
But
are.
I remember. I'm trying to get into my AnyPay wallet to see if I still have the BSV they sent me.
Oh, well, there you go. Probably not.
You see,
but-
you got sent money in a wallet and then just got lost. That's what I'm.
Yeah, that's
to
what
my
happens.
earlier point.
No, they wanted to.
This is why we need custodians. Save me, Elizabeth Warren. So the thing is, they have been very inconsistent on the business aspect of AnyPay. Like, they're just too busy to fix bugs, and it's been a constant problem. So they stopped maintaining the front end apps and were only doing the API services back end. So then I got Mikhail, who's some charming fellow from Siberia who does a lot of Dash development, to start maintaining the front end. And then a couple weeks ago, AnyPay stopped, I guess, maintaining the back end, or it was Fritzy. So now I'm trying to get Mikhail to then basically.
You should ask them to sell it to you. If you're the one now developing it, you should just take over that. If you're like becoming the main,
I think,
like maintainer,
we'll have to figure something out with that. But the point is, these people
you totally have your wallet. Oh my god, that'd be so cool.
these people were very intelligent developers and passionate developers who just did not have the focus. Like literally, oh, I don't want to like. There's a big meetup. People are trying to pay crypto and it's not working. Oh, I can't fix the bug because I'm too busy doing Pilates at the moment. And then
Can you fork it? Is it open source?
it was at one point. But the point is, we're in the process of sorting all that shit
Fun.
out. But so that's really what
That's
happened
exciting.
with AnyPay. I would
You
like
rebrand it. Desert Pay. Sorry.
AnyPay is a great name because you pay with any crypto.
Any pay, any crypto. Yeah, but if you take over, you need to rebrand. You need to
Links
slap
Pay.
a new. You need to slap a new visual on it or something. Do a whole like marketing.
Granite Pay.
Hmm?
Granite State Pay or something. I
Granite
don't know.
Pay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wait, live free or pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good tagline.
Pay free or die. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. The
But I
freedom
think,
wallet.
yeah, you haven't. I don't want to say there's enough people like buying cryptos across the board. I feel like that part, we're very imbalanced in that stuff. It's really getting the merchants to be able to accept. I don't know. I
You want to hear an interesting
kind of
statistic?
lost the motivation to onboard people anymore.
Well, Joel,
Right.
that guy Yoshi you sent me, Joel.
Mm-hmm.
He reached out to me. He came onto Spaces. On
Oh,
Wednesday.
Yoshi Levo. He's that.
Oh, yeah.
That isn't he Dutch? He's a Dutch Bitcoin
I
casher.
think so.
He's a Liberlander, an exiled Liberlander. He said he's been
That's a rabbit hole we don't need to
excommunicated
go
from.
down.
Yeah. Well, but he said there's only
He got
I'm looking at-
banned from a fake-free country.
I don't think it's
ungoverned country. He got banned from somehow that no one can actually visit. But
Yeah, so now he's banned, so he really can't visit now.
They can't enforce it. How could
Well, anyway, so he said to me, he goes, you understand how early this is. He goes, Litecoin, I'm looking at it right now. And granted, I know Litecoin's not Bitcoin, but there were 8 million active addresses, or 8 million addresses, period, on Litecoin. I was like, damn, I would have thought way higher than that, just because you have 1 million transactions a day, right? So how many users are just in Coinbase and Binance? It's wild.
In institutions and Thorchain vaults switching over.
It just shows you how few people
no one
has
uses
ever
crypto.
truly opened up a wallet and received.
Like literally, the people in this chat are like the only people. And like I know the other 5 guys I interviewed.
we are the only users of crypto.
Yeah, I jokingly say it's about 12 guys, but like it's maybe
Terrible.
double that.
5. Well, 6 if Jeremy was still here. So.
Yeah, but like even most of us here, like some token use crypto. Like, oh yeah, if it's available, I'll spend here, I'll spend there. Mortgage, food, groceries, yeah, everything is fiat for most people in here. Probably, I'm making assumptions, but still to this day, and we're the hardcores, right? So there's a weird underground movement of a lot of different people who use a lot of crypto for a lot of things, but it's still like, as far as people who regularly use, it's like I'd be shocked if there was like 1 million crypto users in the world. Like,
Well, we're the public ones as well. Like, we're those who like go on podcasts and talk about it. Like, I get it. Not everybody wants to do that.
Yeah, I know.
You consider this? Do you consider this DeFi stuff to be crypto users, even if it's just
Yes.
casino shitcoin?
Yeah, it's a different kind of crypto user, but it's still a crypto user. I think if you're touching I would say L1 network, or even if it's like an L2 is just another L1 in my opinion. But if
For me, there are more crypto users in DeFi than Coinbase, account person.
Yeah.
If you're doing finance on a decentralized platform, yeah,
this is my
Because you get the tax advantage, which was the whole point in the beginning, right?
No.
wow.
I mean, if you're on L1s, you're like, I don't even want to fuck around with it. I'll just
So
leave it there.
here's my
Let's say
idea
it's
of like the
tax.
ratios. For
I mean,
every
changes it.
for every 1,000 crypto holders, there's 100 DeFi users to one crypto digital cash spender. That's probably the way it shakes out. It's just brutal for people like me. It's like, oh no, last of the Mohicans over here, you know? Like, but it's true because you know how easy it is to click buy on Coinbase once you give them your ID and all that stuff, and they're like, oh, my life is 100% the same except I say I have Bitcoin now. Great, and I'm not judging that, by the way. I'm just saying it's easy, so therefore people do that. And then some people that get more interested are like, oh, I'm gonna move some here, I'm gonna play around with some yields, I'm gonna do this. My life is still the same, but I do this hobby now instead of just I have this token thing on this one app. It's like, oh, I have a hobby where I trade shitcoins, you know? And then to where people like us, or some of us who, oh, I buy my everyday things in this, that is a giant lifestyle change compared to just, he knows what I'm talking about.
So now I'm getting these requests around Christmas where people are like, oh, I want to buy crypto for my kids. It's cute, huh? This is bull market sign, by the way, guys. When I have people from high school or stuff like that reaching out and asking for these things, and I'm like, I'm the crypto person they know in their life somehow.
Wait for next year, 2025.
I'm not ready.
You're not ready? No, but
I'm going
what's...
dark.
Huh?
I know that.
But I don't know what to tell them. Like, you'd think that I'd know what to tell them by now.
Here's what I tell
Right
them.
I'm like, do you want to be self-custody? Do you want not custody? Which
No. So when
exchange?
someone comes up to you and they go, hey, so do you think I should buy X coin?
Oh, no. I
What?
never give financial advice. I'm always... No, I always tell them, like...
No, I mean, like, if they're interested in wanting to buy, my response has usually been, like, do you think I should buy stuff? It's like, no. What? You know, it kind of takes them back. And it's just, well, look, if you got to ask, you're not ready.
No. They go through an hour with me. They go through a class. I teach them the basics. And then I'll give them, like, there's these two exchanges, these 3 wallets.
On that one. You have the patience for it.
I get paid.
Kind of stop that.
I invoice for my time. Don't worry. I used to do it for free. I used to do Crypto 101 every month for free for an hour. And
I'm going to bet no one listened to you. And as soon as you start charging, all of a sudden people were like, I'm going to listen.
I don't know. I think what was cool with the Crypto 101s is that I had people from all over the world. I never knew who they were. And I was always so, you don't have to put your camera on. I don't care. I'm not taking it. I don't care who you are. You could just come in. But it felt very fleeting. It felt like, what am I? Maybe I am teaching. Maybe I'm not teaching. And then what happened is that some of those people joined my Telegram group. And they were too fresh, too green or something. And a few of them got scammed because people pretended to be me and stuff. So then I just thought, something's off. Something's off. And even though I would prepare people and be like, there's impersonators and stuff like that, I felt responsible, for those really super green people that I would bring in. And then, super creepy stuff happened. So then I thought,
maybe are we
not.
deciding again that just send them to Venmo?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as,
step
Venmo,
one, just go buy, because it's pretty fleeting anyway.
Does
You can
Venmo
sell
let
whatever you want.
Get
You don't
your
really
crypto
care.
out? Can you withdraw from Venmo into real crypto?
I think you can. You got to do KYC, of course.
Yeah,
but
maybe
I
that's...
do. I got to get going, but I appreciate the time. I got to get a couple presents yet. I'm getting late.
Oh,
but it's nice seeing y'all again.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
The holiday spirit, the holiday hat, the holiday sweater.
Yeah, I'm not a, trust me, I'm not like a permissioned layer guy. I just am a realist. So
just a real person.
Also good.
And what that divide you guys mentioned earlier about devs versus like customers in reality, I think is got to be attacked at some point. I love devs; they do a lot of hard work, but they don't think about the free markets like
they don't.
Most people do, and so that's the next step. Anyway, Merry Christmas, have fun. Thanks for having me on.
Happy New Year.
All right, guys.
Nice meeting you. All the best.
Taxation's left. I'll see you around.
I'm also gonna jump off really soon.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't think I would stay this long. I'm tired.
Lorenzo said
Oh,
he'd come on.
I was committed. Like you said 12 to 4, I was like that.
Yeah, I mean we're doing pretty well as far as time. We got banked a whole 3 hours already. Yeah, what's Justin up to these days?
Hey, don't go through the back door to ask for gossip.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying why isn't he on the stream? Because I invited him and he ghosted me. So.
He ghosted you
Where's
straight
Lorenzo?
up?
Well, so Lorenzo thought it was going. I said
I even told him that I was
said
coming
start
on
at
your show.
5 p.m. UTC, noon Eastern time. He thought it was noon.
I'm gonna tell him
I
off.
thought it was 5%. He said it was 5 p.m. Eastern time, and so he got confused. And he said, "I'll join in a few minutes." So let's see if Lorenzo joins. But that'd be good if he does. Well, in the meantime,
Well, I called Justin out.
so this random dude in Belarus makes these. I have one for Nimic too that he accidentally sent me, which I don't even know what the hell Nimic is, but I got one. So my old faithful Dashy glass, and then where did this come from? Thank you, by the way, Eleanor. This is good whiskey.
Is it good? Is it the what's his face?
The Ron
My
Swanson
favorite
edition.
libertarian. Is it good actually?
Yes, it's actually good.
Lagavulin?
Yeah, it's good. If you like a good smoky scotch, it's good. So, as you can see, I only have this much left. So
Nice.
sorry.
That's telling me that
The
it
bottle's
was a
going
good
back
gift.
on the shelf when the show's over.
Ah,
Yeah. Well, cheers.
cheers.
Yeah, this has been
Yeah, cheers, man.
is that a twisted tea?
No
Oh,
alcohol,
the
man.
one
I'm
inch punch.
trying to get it going for next year.
I can't have alcohol anymore.
No.
It's
What
finished.
what happened? You don't have to.
I'm
say
grow-
it live
I'm
show.
growing a baby.
Oh, congratulations!
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that you have to make this is adoption, guys. I'm doing the hard part. We're talking about merchants and users.
Technically,
Just
it's
have
not
babies.
adoption. Technically, it's not adoption. That's unless you're telling me something else, in which case,
But they have to become like we were joking about the fact that they might rebel against us in the future and become like bankers.
Well, the funny thing though is
Because my annoying crypto parents.
That's-
Because I'm gonna drag them to all my conference hackathon meetups, right? And they're gonna be like, ugh, yeah.
But on the other hand, that is interesting because I noticed that the younger generations just don't have the same problems with crypto adoption. Like they get it, they figure it out. And just this my little cousin who I was an adult and he was like this. I remember him before he could speak. And then next time I saw him, he's trying to show me his NFT collection. He just did. I'm just like, whoa, they grow up so fast.
No.
Well, dude, so I remember one time I was trying to really pay people with gold and silver. And that's when I knew, like, no, this is not working. Because I had one of my guys, he came in and we were trying to, just see if he was interested. So I put a silver dollar in his hand and he looks at me, he's like, what's this? And he's just a young 20-something. And I'm like, well, it's silver. He's like, I've never held one before. I hear my parents talk about it. And then he's like, what do I do with it? Well, you can trade it for fiat and then pay your bills. He's like, no, that's. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. He's like, what if I paid you in Bitcoin? He's like, oh, yeah, go ahead. You're such a gamer. It was so easy. I'm like, yep, nope. I know where this is going. Let's call it in. And he got it, as a 20-something. And I'm like, yeah.
Or you were giving him like a physical collectible thingy, and then you're telling him to go and do all these things and
he's like,
go to a teller or whatever bank to online, everything online.
Yeah, no, he already knew how to do everything with Bitcoin, so
that's fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't going to work. And just look at the demographics and what the kids are doing and where they're going to be in another 20 years. And
yeah, that's the thing is like all we have to do is wait for the Elizabeth Warrens of the day to like retire and like just filter out of the influence structures, and then it's all fixed. Because I've had I've testified before the New Hampshire legislature a few times on crypto bills. And that's always challenging because like the average age is like 75 or something like that. And there's all these like ancient people from like rural backwoods New Hampshire. They're like, what's a Bitcoin? They don't even know what Bitcoin is.
What's
Like
a Bitcoin?
Bitcom, they would say. This
Yeah.
this Bitcom because they're used to .com. That's where they stopped learning was .com. So it's Bitcom. And then I'm trying to explain what a DAO is, and I'm just like, because, no, it's funny because there was a DAO bill, and my buddy Keith introduced the DAO bill, and he just like introduced it like, oh, I'm gonna put in a DAO bill because like Wyoming's doing it, all these places are doing it, and I'm like, okay, and I read the bill, I'm just like, I didn't say anything, and I'm just like sitting there, I'm just like looking at my phone, I'm just sitting there, and then like, bzz, and then Keith's like, yo, dude, can you make like a video explaining a DAO to boomers? I'm just like, there you go. That was it. I was waiting for it. It's like they have no idea. This is just like completely different.
Yeah, it's interesting watching the world change.
Absolutely.
It really is. Just seeing how those in charge of us are still stuck back in like 1950. You know?
Yeah.
On
And
that
we-
note, guys, I'm sorry. I'm gonna jump
bounce.
off. I'm gonna bounce. If you're in Amsterdam in April 12 to 14 next year, I'm organizing a conference hackathon dedicated to privacy and security. Joel spoke last year. That's why he's wearing all the merch still. I really appreciate, by the way.
So yes, Solana Fest 2024. I will be.
Right.
I'll try to be
Right.
there. We'll see.
That's that. Also, Tornado Cash wise, I've been doing a lot of stuff with Alexi and the
I'm gonna
Netherlands.
Throw these things.
And if anybody
on
wants to connect me to Coinbase, because we're trying to get a centralized exchange who has had experience with the Tornado Cash compliance tool report to talk about it. And I've been trying, I don't know if someone here in this crowd knows him or not. That would be great. And that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, and we work now with Travel Swap, so you can actually book your accommodation with crypto in Amsterdam and get a 5% discount.
Nice.
We just did that very recently, so it was really fun.
Yes, as a long time Traval, here it is on the screen. Travel Swap, long time Traval user and stuff. You know.
Yeah, I saw because that's actually I had Flowy like immediately being like, ugh, they accept ApeCoin and not BCH. That's bullshit. But then I talked immediately to the team and they were like, oh, we'll process BCH payments, DM us. And if enough people request it, we'll actually, directly implement it as well. So
Good old Flowy.
I know.
Chloe.
I know. He's great.
It's kind of funny how like these like figures just keep popping into people's worlds in the cryptoverse.
I invited
It
Gian
didn't
as
click
well.
that you
Gian's
guys
like,
might
no.
know each other because you're in Amsterdam.
We do. From because the first hackathon I ever organized was a BCH hackathon, obviously from my BTC.com wallet days when I used to be a Bitmanian.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first experience I had organizing a hackathon. That was a BCH one. That was when, what's the name of that guy who developed that platform called Yearn?
Yearn Finance? Or is that something different? Ryan X Charles?
No. Yes, Ryan X Charles.
Oh,
So he was like
yours.
2 weeks before yes, yours, sorry, like memo.cash
That's
stuff.
before
And then
he
was,
went absolutely insane.
but
So,
he told me,
Who
like,
here
he
knows
told
who
me,
Ryan
like,
X Charles is, by the way?
oh,
I've heard
So,
that name.
Ryan X Charles was a early Bitcoin cat. He had this like basically like a Substack style site called Yours, where people could pay for articles or tip with like micro tips in Bitcoin. And just when Bitcoin
Cash.
started to,
yeah.
this is before that. Listen, we're going back before that. But it was just when it couldn't work. So he developed the first usage of basically Lightning on Litecoin. He used like Litecoin to do like a Lightning based kind of payment channel thing.
damn.
And then
that.
he's one of the very first people to practically implement a Lightning Network type deal in a actual end user environment. And then he quickly just switched to Bitcoin Cash when the fork happened. He's like, oh, this is easy. It's a fraction of a cent. I can just do that. Then he turned into a BSV person. And
BCH.
Well, BCH. Then he turned into a BSVer. And from there turned into just I mean, I don't want to speak ill of the dead. No, he's not dead, but you know what I'm saying. I don't want to speak ill, but he's a little on the crazy spectrum for the BSV world, which is saying a lot.
I just remember that first fork with BSV, and I couldn't believe, because 2 weeks before we had our hackathon, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry, Ellie," because I was like, "Oh, what's up with this fork?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. It's just, it's BCH going through stuff, but it's, And then it broke my heart when his platform, yours, then that's the name, went to BSV. Just straight up went to BSV. And I remembered like tweeting at him and like a sad face, and then he blocked me, and I was like, double sad face.
Yeah, I can't
because
remember.
those were like popular platforms, right? Those were like, at the time, that was the place where you'd post and you'd get BCH, for posting stuff. It's great, and whatever. Sorry. Back to my PTSD of early BCH.
I think he might unironically think that Craig Wright is Jesus Christ.
I know. Like, we lost really. We lost such. I mean, every time a fork happens, you just, when it's not a consensus fork, like, you lose so much. Like, more than when we were trying to fight fiat and we're talking about adoption and merchants and users and stuff. But when forks happen and products leave or delist or whatever, or you just lose brains that are developing and who are advocates in the space, so bad.
It's brutal. And the real thing is, that's one reason I try not to be a maxi about anything, because I think that people get weird, like, and we lose people. That's the problem. Is like, oh, someone's like one of our guys, and then something happens with the chain that he doesn't like, and then he just like, you lose him in crypto altogether. Best case scenario, you lose him in crypto, but more often than not, they just lose their mental like grip on reality too. Like, a lot of people get really weird about this stuff. And
I also was way too emotional at the time about it. I think I was just, because for me, it was my first years in crypto, and I was full on, I think, sucked into the tribalism of it all without realizing it, and just seeing it as a big, nice, cute, community of like-minded people. And then it just got dark, and it got, very much like Game of Thrones, and it was just like less cute. And when you're the person and that does community work and is, doing events and stuff like that, and you're bringing people together, and then they start fighting and they start doing stuff, that's when I said, I'm out.
I mean, that is, I guess, a credit to the ETH ecosystem is there are ETH maxis for sure, and they're annoying, and they're ridiculous. However, the ETH world just seemed to be less weird and toxic, and it's still there, but it's not that bad.
And that's why I think when we were talking earlier in this podcast about executive sharding, just
hey, look who showed up.
Hey,
Lorenzo.
Hello.
Number 7 of this podcast. Lucky number 7. Oh, I can't hear you. You must switch on your microphone.
No.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, though. It's just the tribalism gets too extreme, right? It's like sports teams,
Right.
Yeah. Although I have to say about sports teams, people do get crazy about that stuff. But there is this pocket in most sports fans' brains where they understand they're talking shit. They understand they're playing a game about the game, even when they get crazy about it.
You have something like that, but then there's also like the little subsect in there where if your family's no longer rooting for Tom Brady, you're dead to me.
So but you don't just say that and talk shit. You like actually won't talk to them anymore. I've never seen that.
I've seen that happen to a couple of families that just break up because of a sports team. It's wild, man. When you go down there,
make Michigan versus Michigan State their entire identity here,
right? So
it's even the same state.
Yeah, yeah. Green versus blue and yellow. It's a thing here.
Yeah, that's just like lightning versus liquid people or something. It's just like, can you imagine if they hated each other over that? It's just like, Lorenzo, did you get the? Oh, it's super.
You're super quiet.
It must not be the correct.
Probably a volume somewhere. You just gotta crank it.
I know what it is. Okay. But anyway, we'll get it back eventually. But yeah, the whole maxi thing, like, I've had friends that have gone.
Now,
It's better quality.
how about there?
That's good.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
Crank it up a little louder, and I think you'll be good.
I'll crank it up a little.
Yeah, that's a problem sometimes when you get
Hey,
too.
there. Okay.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So how's it going, man? Good to have you.
Man, great to see you all. I really thought it was 5 p.m. EST. I had to run at 6 to do a bunch of stuff.
You're
And
not
I'm
the
like,
only
"Oh,
one.
I still have like 2 hours left. And then I checked Twitter. It's like 15 notifications. Everyone's talking about it. Like, fuck.
Where is he? Where's this dude?
Yeah, sorry about it, man.
Not good.
Yeah, it's fine because honestly, I kind of envisioned it rolling out like this, where not everyone joins at the same time. It was myself and Eléonore and Kallisti and Jeremy for like the first hour, and then Grant, I think, from Litecoin Underground showed up, and then Mr. Rare over here showed up later, and then people start dropping off, and then there you go. But yeah, it's good. We're just talking about everything and anything. That the subject of the very current present is like people in the crypto tribalism and how that's like, it's not just like, oh, we don't like tribalism, but how tribalism has kind of like split people apart a little bit, and how like people get super into their tribalist things, and then something happens to the coin and they exit crypto entirely, and then they're just like, no, dude, what happened? Like, I know, who here remembers Smart Cash? Anyone know what that is?
Heard of it?
I remember Smart Cash.
Yeah.
One of the first cryptos that I heard of, by the way. And
You're
I
still
actually
quite
learned
quiet, by
about
the way.
Dash. I learned about Dash after I learned about Smart Cash. So I joined the Smart Cash forum. And then somebody said, this is just a Dash clone. And I was like, what's Dash? And then I went into the Dash forum, and that's how I learned about Dash. So.
Can you crank up the volume like 10x or get
Oh,
really closer?
again?
That's actually when you're in the mic, it's better. When
Yeah,
you're
you need
closer
to-
to the mic.
You need to be doing this.
I need to do like this, yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to the Smart Cash forum, and then somebody there said, this is just a Dash clone, copycat. And I was like, what's Dash? And then I found the Dash forum, and that was funny. It's like 8 years ago or something like that. 7 years ago.
Yeah. So for those who don't remember Smart Cash, which is everyone because it kind of went away, there was a group of people that Smart Cash was a fork of Zcoin, which is now known as Firo, which is, again, we're going down so many rabbit holes here, right? But so, but it was a fork of Zcoin. That Zcoin's entire thing is they use the zero coin protocol for like using zero knowledge proofs for privacy is before Zcash. It's kind of like the proto Zcash. But Smart Cash removed that entirely. It just had instant transactions and fast stuff. And they had like an 80% treasury where like 80% of the block reward went to like pay for development and marketing and stuff. And it got a lot of people in like Latin America interested in it. And then it just like went away over time. But the point is, some of the people I know from that, some of the people I actually liked from that group, like just now are just not in crypto. They're just done. And, I remember that like the Bitcoin Cash community was pretty big at one point. And then, well, of course, the Bitcoiner community everyone was a Bitcoiner. And then after 2017 and like over the years, it just diversifies into other groups. But then, so the Bitcoin Cash community was big. And then the BSV split happened. And then it took a lot of people there. A lot of people stayed. But then there's a lot of people that just scattered outside of either community. And then the eCash split. And there's still a bunch of people who I remember were old school Bcashers, so to speak, that are now eCashers and really hardcore. I do know some eCash maxis, which is just mind blowing to me that,
That's insane, man.
And so, but the point is like, a lot of these people are good people that I just wish were around still. Like, okay, your favorite coin didn't work out the way you wanted to or whatever. And you don't have to become like a nano maximalist now or whatever. I'm name dropping nano so much this podcast. Anyway, you don't have to be whatever. Just like stay around Freedom Tech. Like just stay around. Like we still like you.
Yeah.
I don't, I disagreed on this thing, but just stay around. I think you're cool. I think you're useful. And it just breaks my heart when like some some people are like, oh man, I know some ETH people that built some awesome things on ETH, and then ETH became expensive, and then they just like floated off to like at least jump to Solana or Avalanche or whatever else, just dump to something and keep us all in. And then when the free market decides which are the best crypto chains at the end of the day, I want you guys still there, not just adrift. That's
but this industry takes so much out of us, It really does. So I also have a lot of empathy for those who burn out.
Yes.
And
I don't know if anyone knew this, but I'm actually 14 years old.
Right.
I'll buy it. I'll buy that. Yeah.
And we've gone through these cycles and bear and bull and different times and tribalism and I don't know other fun betrayals of life. And so I have a lot of empathy for people who burn out and just say, okay, fuck it, now I'm going to AI industry or whatever. They're just like,
that's what happened to Ryan X Charles too.
Really?
Yeah, he went into AI. I was hearing you talk about him, and I was like,
he's just my first person who broke my heart on Twitter. It's fine. It's just my first block because I told him, what,
he
you
was
went
such
to
a big BSV guy after everything that happened, and then he was like, one time he had the epiphany about Craig being a fucking fraud, and he was like, you know what, I have to, do something else with my life, and he went into AI and stuff. So,
Well, again, empathy for him. I hope he's happy.
Yeah.
And I will jump off. I keep having difficulties to jump off this podcast because it's just so fun and so nice. And thank you for the invitation, really. And I love our last conversation about multi-blockchain future and anti-tribalism and now I think that's my biggest lesson actually so far, being in crypto so many years, is to not fall into my tribalism, which I love to fall into it because I have this very addictive, oh my God, I love people and I love falling into things really hard. But then I also have to that's me maturing, I guess, or something. It's
I mean,
so
loyalty and focus is great. And so thanks for being on. Say hi to Justin for me.
I already called him out for ghosting. I was like, that's unacceptable. So he told me he'll message you and apologize. So he's very
well. He doesn't. No one's required.
No, he has to apologize. It's very rude. No, very rude.
No, he's just busy. Listen, he's a big shot. He has 5 times the Twitter followers than me. I mean,
no, but it's also congrats to you on your Twitter stuff. You've been doing really well. And I really like what you're doing, and I like how you're writing, and I like the pictures that you make, and you've been doing really good content. So before I jump off, I wanted to give
thank you.
Hats off to that.
Use that to tell everyone you should up your X game, your Twitter game, and I'll help you how. I've already helped Naomi start to post her videos on her full videos on
nice
X now, and it's ever since Elon Musk started removing all those ban lists from the code. And started to the unblocked Alex Jones, for crying out loud, and I think it's for where you're gonna. There's no good blockchain based platform that's is anywhere near as good. So let's all go all in on.
So wait, you're saying I should put all ETH footage and future stuff not on YouTube but on X?
Yes.
But
I didn't say not on YouTube. I said put it on X. You can do both.
Okay. Maybe you have to give me a little class as well.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Happy Christmas, holiday,
Congratulations
everything.
to you guys. Have a great holiday season. Thank you
so
for
much.
the scotch that you gave us last time. I'm very much appreciating it. And have a good time. And, remember, your phone is spying on you. Don't forget.
My phone and my computer and everything. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All the best.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so as we were talking about freedom tech, freedom is what matters. Tech enables the freedom. And for example, one could say that Naomi Brockwell left crypto. She didn't really. She just doesn't talk about it anymore. But the reality is she just shifted to focus on a different area of freedom tech, which is privacy preserving stuff. And so I don't consider someone like that to be lost, because she's still on the front lines of fighting for things that enable our freedom, and that's really what matters. That's how it works.
Yeah, and I've dived into that territory too. I wanted to give away Pixel 7s with Graphene OS installed, so I made some video. Oh, that's the Pixel 7? Nice.
Oh, it's a 6,
I just got
6A, I think.
Oh, the 6. I just got the 8 Pro, and man, I'm loving this thing. And I gave away 2 Pixel 7s with Graphene OS installed. It was very good reception. I made a couple tutorials on YouTube about how to, and I put them on X as well, about how to install Graphene OS and stuff. And I have a bunch of other videos talking about that are coming soon. So I'm also delving into, that area because I think it's really important, and just focusing on Bitcoin and stuff. I don't think it's enough for me. So, and Linux and, cool things to do with your laptop, hacking and stuff. So I'm going to be doing all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important. And I mean, I've been a Linux user since 2017, and obviously Graphene OS, Signal, VPN, use open source everything as far as I can. Just because I have the luxury of being able to do that as like a hobby. Like I don't have to be on a Teams meeting or anything like that,
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, hey, my hat's off to you and any other Linux user. That is a brave world to be
it's
in.
not like, let me be perfectly honest, like the transition from Windows to Ubuntu in 2017 was a nightmare for like a day or two a year since, when something dumb happened I had to figure out. But other than that, I haven't noticed the difference. It's just like, it's all browser based for the most part. It's been fine. Like, it's not that intimidating for anyone who knows how to use computers. Like, if you're like if you think that Windows is too complicated, then you're kind of screwed. Sorry, stay with Mac. But if you are a competent Windows user that knows how to do stuff like edit a file extension and stuff like that, if you're like at that level, you could start to figure out, Linux.
But not even that. Like, I remember the first time I actually moved to Linux was in 2012, and back then, I couldn't. I did it for like a year, like hardcore. I remember back then, Ubuntu made their Ubuntu OS, and I could install it on a Nexus phone. So I was like, "Fuck the Matrix," I'm gonna put Ubuntu OS on my phone, and it couldn't have Instagram or whatever. And I was like, "Fuck this! I'm going back to Windows and Android. That's whatever." But then, like a year and a half ago, I said, "You know what? I'm gonna give it a shot again," and it's a completely new world. It's so easy, everything, and the best thing is that there are Linux users who love the whole command line stuff, which I like, but there are so many distros right now, flavors of Linux that are just that. I recommend you one called Zorin OS. It's Zorin, Zorin OS. Like these guys made it the easiest. Like they're just Windows. No command line if you don't want to. App Store, you can install everything, perfectly. It comes with a bunch of useful apps preloaded. The interface is beautiful. You can edit it quickly. That UI. It's just Linux for the average person. It's so bloody good. I fully recommend that. I'm not running that anymore because I like some other stuff, but that one I could recommend to any grandma, and she wouldn't have any problems, man. It's really that level of good.
So, like, I'm trying to think about like what are the easiest ways to like start taking your privacy back. As far as probably getting a VPN and just running it is a great first step, because you just do it one time and have a little thing that's like set up, and then it's really good for content. So for example, my favorite centralized exchange service is SideShift, and SideShift is great, but they don't support US customers. So you throw on your VPN and then you can use it. Great. It's fantastic. So that's good. And then Signal, of course, is great. I personally love Signal because, first off, everyone I know is on Signal, because it's all a bunch of crazy libertarians and, crazy crypto people and stuff. And also I like that it's on my computer as well. So I could just be like, I hate texts and like phone calls. I just want to like get it all done. I have my good mic, I got everything. I just want to answer phone calls like right there from my keyboard. I don't want to be just sitting around talking to people. I want to be doing actual shit at the same time. I'm sorry if that's disrespectful to people's time, but it's true. So just those two things.
Well, and emails too.
Proton.
Yeah, it's like a decent email, a VPN, privacy browsers, and then privacy chat.
Yeah, Brave. Brave is the easiest of all these three.
Molvex is also pretty good too. Like there's more coming, which is really, at least for me, that's exciting. to see that there's more privacy tools out there now versus than what there used to be. Right? It was only Tor, and then maybe some add-ons to Firefox.
Yeah, I use Firefox with some add-ons. There's this other one called LibreWolf, which is like a fork of Firefox. I've tried it, but clearing everything every time you close it and every time you open it up, your X account is logged out. It's like, oh man, fuck this. I'm just on Firefox. I used Brave for a long time. I still have it installed, but I'm trying to move us away from Google as I can. So anything Chromium based, I'm trying to not use it. I mean, they do have plenty of good modifications. It is fine. It's just more of like my thing of can I survive without Google shit? So I'm on Firefox right now.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. The thing is, like, I'm not going to not buy a Pixel phone because it's from Google. And it's this weird thing where if something is like a government thing, it's easy to be like, that sucks. But Google is awful and amazing at the same time.
Well, yeah.
And that's the tricky part, is like, you don't want them surveilling your every move. They are kind of evil. But at the same time, they've done a lot of good for human progress in a lot of ways. And a lot of their products are really good. So it's like, how do you walk that line where you keep that out of your life, but then you still take advantage of some of the stuff they have? Like,
well, it's like you were mentioning, especially with some exchanges and some other services too. It's, okay, you're going to have to KYC because you can't get around everything unless you never started out that way. So, all right, a little KYC here to get your bills paid, a little KYC here to just, take care of an issue, but then you're out of it and you don't spend the majority of your time in there. So kind of the same way with Google. Trying to work on that when it comes to like video and graphics, because Adobe is essentially the oligarchy or the monopoly in my industry, and we've been in the process of just getting rid of anything and everything Adobe.
That's gotta be brutal.
That must be tough.
That is hard. That is really hard. And when we found out that they were also like selling user data as well.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
did you know that your Adobe is spying on you?
Yeah, your creative software is spying on you too. Not just spying, selling, and you're another product. So not only are you paying for it, so that's quite a grift. But they're selling everything. They're tracking all of it. And there's an open marketplace for it, which is also another really shocker. It's I forgot, it's like marketplace.adobe or something like that. But anybody can come and buy info regarding its users. And then when you have an entire industry that uses nothing but Adobe, it's like you're going to be the odd one out. Harder to get clients, harder to work, in other productions unless you're using their software. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I don't know if you actually pulled it off, but I don't see it. Like, I remember when Figma surprised everyone, and Adobe XD was like shit, and then they acquired Figma, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that with Flash for a while, and Macro Studio or Macro Media, and then Adobe acquired them. And it's like, okay, great. I mean, right now there's a few options like Affinity Photo, Affinity Publisher, not Adobe, like they're alt Adobes, and then LumaFusion, which is really good.
Oh, LumaFusion.
And then I'm just waiting for the day when Adobe's like, yeah, we'll just buy those too.
Yeah, they probably will. Like, in Linux, there's this thing called GIMP, which is like Photoshop.
Oh yeah, that's
and
shout out to Pulp Fiction.
Well, because I saw a meme recently that I thought was really funny, which is like Adobe secretly owns GIMP. It's their project to make people want to switch to Photoshop.
Yeah,
it's
so
it is their marketing strategy.
I'll tell you,
to switch to Photoshop.
many years ago, I got my start using GIMP because I wasn't full on the open source train yet. I was on the I'm broke train. I'm not paying for shit. Like, oh, Photoshop, I couldn't afford it. So I used GIMP. I still use GIMP. I use GIMP for the thumbnail for this podcast, for example. I use GIMP hardcore. I use GIMP all the way through because it's free open source software, and that's the way I roll. And I mean, of course, I use Midjourney to generate this thing that then I edit with GIMP and stuff. And then sometimes I animate it with Runway or something like that. Sure, I use some of those other things, but still GIMP at the hardcore. I'm still using OBS for Linux to broadcast this thing. I still have some custom compiled plugin that I made myself to stream to Odyssey because it didn't have the multi-stream thing. They only released one for Windows. And so to get it to work on Linux, I literally had to experiment dropping different files into different folders until something worked. And then there you go. So yes, this is my world, unfortunately. And I understand it's not for everyone because, it's no good.
Yeah. It's when it works, it's great. When it doesn't, fuck the world.
Yeah, but there's something I do think there's something very valuable in trying all this. If someone has some time to do a hobby, it's just I think everyone should fight. Everyone should train some kind of a combat sport, at least a little bit, just to know what happens when you fight, because a lot of people don't know the risks when they're talking shit to someone in the street. Like, no, don't. I just don't. Nothing good comes from this. Your head bounces off the concrete, you're dead. Like, just don't. It's the same thing as I think that everyone, I didn't understand the legacy financial system before I got into crypto and understood, went back to understand oh, this is how this works. This is the allegory here. And the same thing with open source tech and things. I've learned so much using it. And about the layers of the financial system, what is Google Play Services? What percentage of people knows what the hell Google Play Services is? No one. No one knows that except for except for Graphene OS users. They know. So it's kind of a really important kind of rabbit hole to get into to understand how all these things work. And when they break, and you have to go into the command line and figure something out, and then you have to go to an AI tool to help you figure out what's the command you got to run because you don't know how to code, all that kind of stuff. It really kind of brings the appreciation sort of full circle, which is why my world of crypto is the world of private keys and block explorers and stuff, because that's the real thing. And it just helps to the wallet's malfunctioning. Oh, it shows me I didn't get the payment. I know I sent it. Where do you go? The source of truth, the block explorer. And if that block explorer isn't on this certain fork of the thing, go to this one, for example, or run your full node, and then you can see it, and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a great educational kind of a opportunity for people to kind of know how this whole thing works.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think that that's one of the reasons why I decided to make content about that, because there's a lot of English content about that, but not a lot in Spanish. And I'm trying to make it super easy for people to not be intimidated by this and start, getting into some of this stuff. And hopefully I can turn some people into Graphene, Linux, or even just Freedom apps, replacing Google services one by one, or other fucking centralized crap. So hopefully we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's a constant journey, and I think as long as we keep doing it, I think that really informs a lot of things, because one of the least intimidating, de-googling my phone was one of the least problematic journeys in my crypto world, in my decentralization world. I just got a new phone. I got Graphene. I used Aurora to get a couple apps that I really needed, and used F-Droid to get the rest, or APKs, and mostly just I had Proton for my email, all that kind of EdSignal. It's there you go, de-googled. Oh, VPN 2, de-googled. So easy. It's just where it became not easy is stuff like trying to use NFC payments and stuff, and that went down that rabbit hole. But I have this Google Watch, which lets me have a de-googled phone yet still do tap and pay through these sketchy ass no KYC crypto cards that I buy.
Wait, yeah, that's right. You were supposed to make a video on that, dude.
I didn't, but by the way, so let me just give a quick little ramble on this thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have and this is everyone watching this podcast is gonna hate me at this point. But listen, if you're watching at 3 hours and 43 minutes into the show, still you deserve what the fuck you get. Okay, so so the point is, because you cannot use a tap and pay on a graphene phone because NFC needs like Google device certification, some nonsense, whatever, and it can't. So if it's a rooted phone, it won't do NFC. So I have a sandbox profile that I only log into just to sync with the watch every once in a while, because the watch doesn't need to be connected to work. It only needs to connect once in a while. And so then I have a Google Wallet, again, to a burner account, of course, not anything associated with my identity, with, again, prepaid cards that are bought using crypto, not associated with my identity, that go in there. And then as long as I don't pay too many times in between switching to the Google profile once in a while, just to like reconnect, then it works great. Until I realized Square, as in, Jack Dorsey's whatever, Square, did not work with this. For some reason, Google Pay with this card worked everywhere on the phone, but everywhere except Square on the watch. But yesterday, I finally found out the watch works with Square again. So now I can just throw away my Googled phone entirely. I can be completely de-Googled, and there you go. But that was like so many layers of learning how like the payment system works, because not only does the merchant have to be able to accept cards, they have to accept MasterCard, but they also have to be able to accept MasterCard issued by Pathward Bank, which is the one that issues all the no KYC kind of prepaid ones. But not only does it have to do that, but it has to do it through Google Pay, because Google Pay has to explicitly support Pathward Bank. But not only that, but the actual merchant software has to support Wear OS Google Pay, not just regular Google Pay, but through the Wear OS thing on the watch. So that was like a month of my life that I sunk into this nonsense. I have to say, for me, it ended up being worth it. For everyone else, it is not worth it to go through the month for that. That is one thing I'm not like, oh, but it's a good learning experience. No, just for me. Everyone else, huge waste of time. But I wasted my life so you don't have to. So, yes.
But one question.
Yes.
Why did you choose the Google Watch and Google Pay? Because there are other brand watches that maybe could have worked.
That was the third watch I tried, by the way. The first watch I tried was a Samsung watch. The Samsung watch with Samsung Pay, it just didn't work. I couldn't get it to work. It just was a nightmare, so I had to return it. And then I went for a Garmin watch. Now, Garmin is known, first off, they work really well with graphene devices. I don't think you even need to do a special like Google Play Services sandbox.
That's what I use. I have a Garmin watch.
Yeah.
It works great.
Yeah, Garmin is great. The problem with Garmin is Garmin Pay, their pay app, which is the entire reason I wanted a watch, does not support all banks. One of the banks they do not support is Pathward Bank, which is the prepaid no KYC card issuer. So if I had an actual regular bank account, which I don't, then Garmin would have been where my journey ended. But I had to stop and I had to be like, all right, look, I'll go for the Google Watch with the Google Wear OS, whatever, and just sandbox it, and it's okay. But it's just like the amount of like trial and error and research. This is not very well documented, by the way. None of this is. And so I just ended up there, and now I can live my silly little life the way I've been doing, and it works now. It's great.
Man, the self-inflicted torture, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, I've accepted that we're pioneers. I've accepted that we do things that don't make sense, and it's not just they don't make sense to normies; they don't make sense to us either. But we do things because someone has to take it on the chin. Someone has to do something stupid. And most people who do something stupid, as we talked about earlier, burn out and just go back to whatever.
Yeah.
But we're all feeding human progress. We're feeding this giant machine of improving the human condition. And every once in a while, I will run into some random dude, some random like plugin or snippet of code here or guide or whatever, by someone who's like so gone. They have not been there in years, but their work is behind them. And I stitch it together. I'm like, oh, that was the missing link I needed to do this. And then the whole world eventually like, oh, now there's other people using these things, and then it just kind of goes onward. And I mean, think about like Satoshi and all the Bitcoin talk stuff, and like it just happened. Like Satoshi's, probably not, very likely not Craig Wright, is very likely dead or just gone. Who knows? No one knows. But the point is, like, one person did a lot of crazy, risky things and thought a lot and wrote a paper and did this and did a lot of code, or someone else did the code, whatever. And then that started something that people generations now have built upon into something a lot cooler today. And just the legacy lives on. And how many people in crypto, specifically crypto, it could be anything else, have done things that seemed really silly, just didn't make sense. And they just but they just did it, and then they like gave up because they got nothing from it. And then before you know it, their work is the linchpin of everything that happens after that. The entire world, freedom-loving civilization. So,
yeah, we'll take it. I mean, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Lewis and Clark of crypto. So,
yeah. What did I don't know if you know Ken Bozak.
In my case, I find it fun. I love, tinkering and playing with it. And, there are some things that are really annoying, and sometimes you just have to roll back to whatever you were doing, but you're always top of your mind, like, okay, how can I,